Kush and Chemtrails, the world's most dangerous podcast.
And my name's Emmet Flores.
And I'm Buck Ballsy. Welcome back to another episode of Kush And Chemtrails.
Yes, we're back. Episode 28.
Chemtrails. Yeah.
28. 28.
You know it.
Boom.
20 to the 8th.
Boom. Almost 30, bro.
Almost.
Damn.
Getting up there.
It's almost a middle-aged podcast.
Woo. Nah. We still a baby.
Damn.
We still a baby. They say in comedy, you age by the years of you've been on stage. Yeah. I heard comedian Godfrey say that. He got a dope podcast. People check him out, comedian Godfrey. He said, I think Seinfeld told him that. So if you've been in comedy, 20 years, then you're 20 years old. So that's crazy. So we're at episode 28, but we're a year. No, we ain't even hit a year. So we newborns,
6 months.
Damn. But that's comedy, though. This is podcasting.
Yeah.
So it's probably a little different.
We're aging dog years.
We're probably like 6 years
We
old
aging dog
something.
years.
Yeah. Yeah. Dog years. I'm with that.
We're about fucking 42 months. A little less than 4 years old.
We off the nipple.
Ain't no thing.
Even though we still drinking the milk, we'll take
Ain't
some
no
of that
thing.
breast milk. I need that breast milk.
Ain't no thing.
I don't want that fake shit that Bill Gates be trying to serve up.
Similac?
Yeah. The made up shits. 3D printed milks.
3D printed milk. Might as well. You 3D print everything else.
Oh, man.
I need to 3D print a fucking fingertip for my ring finger.
I always forget about it till you bring it up.
Yeah. You're just trying to make me feel better.
No, I just want to look
I
at it.
bet
now
you
that
and your
brought it
friends
up.
got all kinds of fucking jokes about it back at the fucking crib. You guys are probably like, that motherfucker's got pirate hands.
The crazy thing is your dog did that, right?
Yeah.
The dog that when we went to the store just a little bit ago was in the back seat.
No, not him.
Oh, no, it wasn't Negan.
No,
Okay.
it wasn't Negan.
Which one was it again?
It was Suede.
Boy?
No, it was Suede.
Suede.
Yeah.
You don't have Suede anymore.
Nah.
Okay. It went through my head, though, when Negan was sitting in the back. I was like, are you the one that bit Soze?
Nah, he's super friendly, bro. He's such a good boy. I love that dog. Anyways.
Did you ever tell that story on the pod?
I don't think so.
You don't have to. I know it's
No,
pretty traumatic.
No, I had a dog, man, and I was he had real bad dog aggression issues ever since he was a pup. And I was irresponsible and I never got it really looked at. I just figured, fuck it, he's my dog and he doesn't fuck with the dogs at the house.
You didn't see Caesar Milan?
Nah. I just never thought it was going to
man.
escalate like that, man. And unfortunately, it did. That fool got off the leash at a park one day and fucking killed a Yorkie. And I was trying to get the Yorkie out of his mouth, and that fool bit off my motherfucking ring fingertip. So you could see right there, it looks like I got two pinkies. Man, that shit hurt like a motherfucker, dude.
Did he bite your finger because it got in the way of the Yorkie? Okay.
Yeah, he didn't see me. I came from behind. I was yelling at the people. And I'm not victim blaming, but I just was like, damn, why aren't they listening? I was screaming because he was trying to get their dog, like, when he was on the leash. He was, like, barking at it. And when he got off, what he did was he ran around my legs. It was a choke chain. He ran around my legs and, like, I swear to God, like 2 or 3 times. And like a movie, bro, it took me down. I'd never had that happen. I've owned dogs for fucking over a decade, almost fucking 2 decades. Yeah. And he took me straight down. Boom.
Like he meant to do it?
Nah. He just was so excited, But it was just crazy, like a movie, The leash wrapped around my legs and took me down like a trap. And I got up and I got out of the fucking leash. And in getting up, I don't know what happened, man. But that fucking choke chain had loosened up somehow. And choke chains don't do that typically.
And it came off?
It fucking came right off his head, bro.
Shit.
And he fucking cocked his head and looked at me because he didn't feel any resistance. And that fool was like, And then looked at that dog and was like, boom, and took off and fucking
Nothing
scooped it up. Yeah, and I yelled at the people. I was like, hey, pick him up. Because he's not aggressive towards people.
Right.
But it was animals. And I was like, hey, pick him up. He won't hurt you. But the guy who was there was the boyfriend of the girl and the dog owner's mom. Okay, like this woman owned the dog. She wasn't even there. It was her daughter and her boyfriend. And the boyfriend
they weren't getting in the way.
The boyfriend definitely wasn't getting in the way. So I came up. He had the Yorkie. The Yorkie was still alive. And I grabbed him from behind. Like this. And I went like to pull him up. And that fool fucking bit down. And I saw that little Yorkie, bro, go like this. I swear to God, look. That fool said, oh. And just folded like that in my dog's mouth. And I was like, oh, fuck. Like, I knew he was dead, you know? And I was like, damn, this fool, like, popped, you know, his lungs and shit. And the boyfriend was like, I remember all this vividly, bro. And the boyfriend was like, oh, no, like that. And I was just like, bro, this isn't happening. And then I looked at my hand because my index finger.
This is at a dog park?
No, it was at some other park in Studio City. But it wasn't a dog park, but there were dogs there.
Okay.
I looked at my index finger because that's where the pain was. And my skin was hanging like down, like this. Because I had to get stitches there. And I was like, damn, this will fuck my finger up. And I turned my hand around, and then I saw my finger was gone. My ring finger. So I thought it was my index finger. Was like, damn, I went from like, oh shit, I need stitches real bad.
So that finger was injured.
This was injured real bad and got sewed back on.
Okay.
And then I flipped this like that, and it was gone.
Ooh.
And I was like, oh, fuck. And I remember grabbing my hand and looking at him, bro, and just going, this motherfucker bit my finger off. And I kicked him. Not hard as fuck, but I kicked him. I was mad as fuck, dude. Yeah. Yeah, I kicked that motherfucker. Shit. And then I fucking just started like kind of walking off into the parking lot, bro. And was like, yo, this is not happening, dog. And I fucking kind of felt bad, but I just left that motherfucker in his mouth. You know what I mean? My finger and the dog. He ate my finger, by the way. He ate it. He swallowed it. Because the angle that I came in, the finger went into his mouth. So he ate my finger. He swallowed my finger and crushed the dog. All in one fell swoop. And then fucking... I go walking through the parking lot.
Did you look for said finger, or did you just assume that he ate it?
No, I looked for it. I walked over there on some Saving Private Ryan shit when that dude's looking for his arm. I walked over there momentarily, didn't see it, and then just walked away because I was in so much pain. It hurt, dude. And I found this dude, and he was there with his chick, and they had wee-wee pads. And I was like, yo, man, I need help. Fucking dog just bit my finger off. Crazy, right? And this fool, I swear to God, and this fool handed me fucking a wee-wee pad, bro. And I wrapped that shit around my hand and fucking laid down on the motherfucking parking block. You know what I'm talking about? In a parking spot. And I had my shit on that concrete block, and I was waiting for 911 to come because he was like, I got 911. He's like, you need anything? And I was like, you got bottled water? And his chick was like, yeah. And I go, dude, I'm so thirsty right now. Give me a bottle of water. I was so thirsty. I just remember, and blood was squirting everywhere. It was everywhere. Just leaking.
Put pressure on it?
Yeah, but it was just, like, it was gnarly, bro. It was everywhere. It was on my other dog, because I had Chili with me, too. I had both dogs. I had a dog in each hand, and I had Jason Bailey with me.
So while you're asking these people for help, you had Chili?
I gave Chili to the kids and said, go wait in the car for me.
The kids were with you?
Jason Bailey, yeah.
Were they panicking?
They weren't screaming, but they were concerned for sure.
Yeah. Damn.
Yeah. So I lay on the parking block and fucking I look over and I just remember some fucking dude, kind of buff, but not like huge, but like big enough, but like tall, like 6'2", 6'3", like your height, but like more fucking built, and fucking holding my dog by the hind legs, like up in the air, bro.
God damn.
That's the last time that I remember seeing my dog. And apparently, if you do that, they'll let go of their grip. You know, it kind of fucking discombobulates them, and they're like, "Fuck." But I got all kinds of weird advice after it happened. They're like, you should have stuck a finger up the dog's ass. I was like, what the fuck, bro? All I wanted to do was get the dog out of his mouth. I wasn't thinking about fucking raping my dog, bro. Someone told me that. A few people like, yeah, that's how you do it. And then someone else was like, yeah, you need a break stick. And I'm like, look, dude, all that shit's great, bro. But I didn't have any of those things at the time, bro. I was ill prepared. I made a fucking really, really, really huge fucking error in judgment. And fucking that fucking dog lost its life. And I had to give my dog up. And then, and I got my fucking finger bit off. And then, so anyways, I'm laying on this fucking parking block, dude. And I remember it was cool, but in my head too, I was thinking like, yo, this is really some funny ass shit. But it made me feel good. It restored my faith in humanity. All of a sudden, this fucking Hindu dude comes up out of nowhere, bro, and starts rubbing my shoulders. And he's like, I will pray for you. And I was like, man, like, yeah, pray to whoever, bro. Shiva, like whoever you're praying to, bro, make that happen, you know? And then fucking, the ambulance finally pulled up, and then it was like a fucking, this was in Studio City. It was like a fucking 30-minute ride to fucking Pasadena from Studio City in the Valley. Bro, I was in so much pain. I was in the fucking ambulance, and I was screaming at him, dude, fucking knock me out. And he got tired of listening to me, so he finally goes, this isn't a fucking movie, man. I can't knock you out. They gave me some morphine, and all that shit did was make me sick to my stomach, bro. And then when I got to the hospital, they gave me a shot of lidocaine in each side of my finger. And within like fucking a minute, that shit was completely numb. So, like a dumbass, because I don't fuck with pills or any of that shit. And I never have. You know, I'll smoke weed. I'm like, you know what? I'm not going to get the Vicodin they prescribed me. I'm just going to smoke weed. But that's when the lidocaine was in full effect. So I go home. I'm tired as fuck. I'm totally traumatized from my day. I pass out. Yo. I woke up at like 3 hours later. That was at 9. I woke up around midnight at 3 hours later when that fucking lidocaine wore off. Yeah. Yo, I was screaming at the top of my lungs. Go get the fucking lidocaine or the Vicodin. Go get the Vicodin. Go get the Vicodin. Literally crying, fool. Tears coming out of my eyes and down my cheeks. That's how much pain I was in because my nerves were severed. My bone is fucking gone. Like all that instantly. And I thought like I was just going to be like, it's just going to be weed. No, dude. No, that Civil War shit, bro. When they get their legs sawed off and they're drinking a fucking thing of whiskey. Fuck that. Because just my little fucking tip of my motherfucking finger, bro. I mean, it's not just a tip. It's a third of it. It's a third. It looks like I got 2 fucking pinkies now. But still, just that compared to like, you know, an entire limb. With no anesthesia?
Yeah, that's tough, man.
Fuck yeah. But then it was fucked up watching the dude like do it to my finger too because I was awake. And he had to like saw some of the bone off and shit like that to make it an even fucking, when the plastic surgeon came in. Mm-hmm. And then fucking.
And then sew it up?
Yeah, I watched all that shit. Mm-hmm. And then you got to watch it heal because you could still lose your finger. The rest of it. You know? It gets infected. They'll cut the rest of that shit off. You got to be careful. So, like, all the time it's healing, it looks crazy, bro.
Like checkups, you mean? Like, while it's healing?
Oh, yeah. And you got to change the fucking gauze all the time every day. And that shit sticks to the wound. And it hurts like a motherfucker when you're pulling it off. It's like, you know? It's fucking fucked up. Because the stitches are there. The wound is there. It's a big-ass scab. It's sticking to the gauze. You got to soak that shit in hot water, you know what I mean? Before you pull it off, you know? There's a whole fucking thing that goes with it. So when you see Rambo and shit like that, when they're fucking like stitching their own wounds and shit, like fuck that life. I
be having technicians do shit like that. They'll cut their finger real gnarly and then they'll just super glue that shit back together and go back to work.
Yeah, bro.
They do crazy shit like that, bro.
People are animals, bro.
Yeah. But then it gives them problems down the line, though, like you said, like infections and shit.
Yeah.
They'll be like, I got this thing, and it's like, I cut it a long time ago. Yeah, it's like,
fuck that. Yeah, but that's what happened, man.
Man,
that was the story behind
the real ass story.
That was the old
Thanks
story.
for sharing with us.
Yeah, you got it, man.
Yeah.
Shared with my dog. I might as well share with you, right? Boom. Thanks. I'll be here all week. Yeah.
Word up. Kush and Chemtrails.
Kush and Chemtrails exclusive, bro. Wish I could erase that memory. They got the old light erasing memory thing here, like Men in Black. That's right, people. You heard it here. Everyone out there listening and watching on YouTube, they're using light to erase memory, just like that little fucking thing in Men in Black. Crazy, bro.
Will Smith.
And they didn't even mention it in the article, and that was the craziest thing. Like, bro, that's the first thing that came to my mind.
Here come the Men in Black.
Talk about using fucking the movies as a fucking way to reveal the method.
For sure. Get us right primed.
I like that soundtrack too.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, I'm not gonna lie, bro. Like, Will Smith kind of always has dope songs, even when they're like super like kind of weak and shit. They're still kind of pretty good.
He deals with a lot of these end of days themes too.
Oh, his movies.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you're right. I'm gonna trip on this. So, researchers have discovered how to erase and then restore the lost memory in genetically modified rats with a single flash of light. The study was conducted by researchers from UC San Diego and was published in the journal Nature. This is the very piece of public evidence that strengthening or weakening connections between neurons in the brain can influence particular memories. What stood out to me about that was where it says, this is the very first piece of public evidence. That strengthening or weakening of neurons.
Good catch.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
All right. So then it goes on to say that Robert Malinow, who is a doctor at the Department of Neurosciences, he says, we can form a memory, erase that memory, and we can reactivate it at will by applying a stimulus that selectively strengthens or weakens synaptic connections. So they can fucking replace it, put it back, whatever the fuck they want to do. At will, bro.
On some Vanilla Sky shit, huh?
Yes. So, and it goes on to say, researchers used fear to accomplish the memory loss. Scientists optically stimulated a group of nerves in the brain of rats that had been genetically modified to make them sensitive to light, and simultaneously delivered an electrical shock to the animal's foot. The rats soon learned to associate the optical nerve stimulation with pain and displayed fear behavior when these nerves were stimulated. Scientists observed chemical changes that are indicative of synaptic strengthening. They also demonstrated the ability to weaken this circuitry by stimulating the same nerves with a memory-erasing, low-frequency train of optical impulses. After this, the rats subsequently no longer responded to the original nerve stimulation with fear, suggesting the pain association memory had been erased.
Interesting.
It's crazy, right?
Two things that pop into my head is...
Please.
Our attention span has been going down or lessening and lessening. So
right.
Maybe our... memory has been being affected by these lights that are hitting us.
Right.
Who knows?
Right.
And the other thing is, they said genetically modified rats that were made to be more sensitive to light.
Right.
So if they're modifying creatures to test on, what other creatures do they have?
Exactly.
Shit makes me think of Ninja Turtles and shit.
Yeah. That's a good
Toka,
point.
Razor.
That's a good point.
They got all kind of creatures probably that they...
genetically modified.
And humans and Bigfoots.
For sure.
All right, I'm getting out of...
Well, no, it makes sense though. But look, you're right. Look, so this is what I was thinking.
Shit.
You know how they do we were talking, I think maybe 2 episodes ago, about the animal human embryo that they had in that they were doing in Japan and stuff.
Okay.
And so what if they're putting animal parts on these animals, or excuse me, human parts on these animals, so that they can do better testing for the humans,
Right.
as opposed to just saying, hey, it's just a mouse.
Right.
No, this isn't just a mouse, it's a human mouse.
Mm-hmm.
So this really gives us more answers as to what we're doing, like a better idea.
Right.
We can better gauge because it has a lot more of a human in it than a
like
typical
the human
mouse.
pig or the pig human.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And another thing is if they're doing, and this goes back to the micro macro that you brought up many podcasts ago about MK Ultra.
Mm-hmm.
So if the micro experiment is with the rats, what if the macro experiment is, like you said, with flashing lights from the television, right?
Yeah.
And that's on all of us being done. And so and that's what desensitizing is.
We don't remember phone numbers anymore.
But that's what desensitizing is.
We don't remember addresses anymore. Everything is in the system
But
now.
this is about getting them to not be fearful anymore, right?
Right.
So it goes also with what you're saying is this isn't what's coming. This is already happening.
Right. Got you.
So they're desensitizing us. We know that.
Right.
So we have no fear from the lights, right? Just like the rats have no fear from the lights. So now when I cut my finger off, I'm able to associate it with, just like I said, Private Ryan. I was like, yeah, just like Private Ryan, I went back and looked for my finger.
Speaking of lights, and that's a good connection again with Private Ryan. They changed recently the lighting that we've grown up with too. Remember, we used to have a soft yellow light akin to this light you have right here for street lights and lights around us. Now most things are like these other lights that we have, LEDs.
Yeah.
And little subtle things like that you don't pay attention to, but the lighting and the mood and the temperature of the lighting has big effects on us, you know?
Yeah.
So we've not only gone from manual or what was it, analog to now digital, but we've also changed from, soft lighting to this fluorescent, like LED. And of course, it's because it's more cost efficient or energy efficient. I understand these things, but I'm just saying, like, we don't even realize how much light has an effect on us as a being, Of course, we point out to the people the water, because we're made up of water. And then light is the spectrum of how we perceive,
Right.
So, yeah, that shit is pivotal. And, yeah, so I could see how, the light being flashed can... these tests that they're running on these creatures that they're making.
Yeah. It's interesting you bring up the
that
light.
pineal is activated by light.
Yeah. You bring up light is how'd you word it? Light is a perception of what we receive?
It because the spectrum
Yeah,
of
that's
our
what you said.
of our perception from the sunlight, the ultraviolet rays.
For sure.
Yeah, it comes from
So,
the light.
I was looking up, we talked about the last podcast briefly. We just skimmed over it, but scientists, you had brought it up actually. Scientists had found the fifth dimension and believed that they found a particle, this heavy particle that basically is they can send this particle there. We can't go there, but they can send it there, and it will prove that it does indeed exist. This fifth dimension. So just so you guys know real quick, let me go over the fifth dimension. So much of the early work on five-dimensional space was in an attempt to develop a theory that unifies the four fundamental interactions in nature: strong nuclear forces, weak nuclear forces, gravity, and electromagnetism. German mathematician Theodor Kaluza and Swedish physicist Oskar Klein independently developed the Kaluza-Klein theory in 1921, which used the fifth dimension to unify gravity with electromagnetic force. Although their approaches were later found to be at least partially inaccurate, the concept provided a basis for further research over the past century. To explain why this dimension would not be directly observable, Klein suggested that the fifth dimension would be rolled up into a tiny compact loop on the order of 10 to the negative 33 centimeters. And under his reasoning, this goes into light. This is dope, bro. Under his reasoning, he envisioned light as a disturbance caused by rippling in the higher dimension just beyond human perception, similar to how fish in a pond can only see shadows of ripples across the surface of the water caused by raindrops. So when a fish is under the water, it sees shadows from raindrops, but it cannot see the raindrops.
Right.
But yet that exists.
And it causes the shadows.
Exactly.
You see.
And he's saying that this light is a ripple effect from the fifth dimension. It's causing the light that we see. It creates the universe that we see.
That makes me think of the stars, because I've often said that I contest what they tell us the stars and the heavenly bodies, the planets are.
Right.
Because when you look under microscopes or telescopes,
Right.
They appear to be moving like ripples, like you're saying,
Yeah.
like water,
Right.
almost. So, excuse me.
No, that makes sense. Exactly.
And of course, I'm not always trying to just relate what I think to what you're saying,
but that's still a dope theory.
To give you how I felt.
That's
when
still
you
a
were
dope
saying
theory,
that,
though,
yeah.
for sure. I like that one. I do like that one a lot.
Because also, some of these things are over my head, and I'm not. It doesn't make me feel bad to say that. You know, I'm interested. You know, but I'm never gonna fully discredit anything because a lot of people have put a lot of time and a lot of work, it appears, into these things, you know, and a lot of people come together and say the same thing, you know. So I'm never going to say that, like, they just landed a rover on Mars and I seen NASA high-fiving. Right. It looked like they won a championship, bro. And in my mind, I'm like, that's bullshit.
That's how I felt,
you know,
too.
But a lot of people are excited about that shit. So sometimes I like to reserve my judgment, even though I may think it's bullshit. I also am open-minded enough to say I'm open to possibilities. Yeah. And I think that's all me and you ask for, is that we don't just come off with whimsical shit. We actually research what we're talking about and have a backing of what we're talking about. But people can so easily dismiss us, like we have both described in our own lives and just online and just in general. Yeah. And the whole censorship thing and how people we have pointed out have been ousted or kicked out or blackballed, whatever, whiteballed, you know. So in this whole thing, it's like we're just trying to speak our truth and let that speak for itself. Let the people judge, you know, and they don't even give us that. They just keep on trying to diminish, you know. Right. Like, I'm not going to sit here and say if people want to look into NASA and be interested into what, you know, these institutions put forth as history, then that's up to them, you know. But don't discredit what we do, and that's all they seem to do, which continues to tell me, like I tell you, I think we're people like us are making some headway, you know, because they're continually trying to
discredit us.
Yeah,
absolutely. I agree 100%.
Thank you for the listeners and the subscribers and the people that follow,
we really appreciate
that have kept us afloat. Because people always hit us in the comments. You guys don't even know. They're like, man, we're surprised you guys are still popping.
Hey, and those of you guys that have hit us up and we didn't respond, it's more than likely your comment was deleted, because in the admin page, him and I always see really great comments, informative comments, enlightened comments, and we really appreciate that you guys are taking the time to reach out to us and let us know what you think about the pod. But you know, unfortunately, the bots are picking up some of these comments and getting to them before we can. It's almost instantaneous at times. But
it definitely is, because I shared with you. I tried to share something with one of our commenters, and before I could even hit send, it said some error code. Yeah. So I deleted a couple words, error code. I deleted some more, and then it finally sent. So it told me it was what I was saying that they weren't allowing. Right. It was crazy, bro.
Right. I remember you telling me that. So we really appreciate that. Make sure you guys watching right now, like, subscribe if you haven't already, spread the word, and you know, let's get some more subscribers on here. Let's spread this information, because you know, the regular media ain't covering this stuff, and we are. And we got plenty more to come where this came from. But so check this out. While not detectable, it would indirectly imply a connection between seemingly unrelated forces. The Kaluza Klein theory experienced a revival in the 1970s due to the emergence of superstring theory and supergravity, the concept that reality is composed of vibrating strands of energy, a postulate only mathematically viable in 10 dimensions or more. You brought up string theory on a podcast in the past. We were talking, I think we might have been talking about time, and you brought up string theory.
Just because that's the latest theory that people put forth as, you know, like the bedrock of existence of all things, you know, all matter is like strings or waves, you know, and that's pretty much the conclusion, or, you know, concise thought at this time in science, as far as I know. And that's how they're tapping into a lot of these different things, like the fifth dimension and this black hole that they said they spotted. You know, it's because the understanding of the universe is changing. It's always evolving, you know, and I don't necessarily vibe with the gravitational theory, though. just myself. But string theory and waves, those are interesting. I would defer to someone like KT the Arch Degree for something like that personally. But yeah, man, I'm definitely intrigued.
Yeah,
It's not one of my expertise lanes, but I'm often reading up
that's
on
how
it.
I felt about it too. It just sounds dope. It said the scientists want to search for a hypothetical particle that can act as a portal to a warped fifth dimension that mediates the cosmic realms of light and dark. So that's what I was telling you about. We can't go
This
there,
shit is crazy,
but it
huh?
can. Yeah, but it can. The existence of this speculative particle could provide a natural explanation for the abundance of dark matter that accounts for most of the universe's mass and resolve intractable problems about subatomic particles known as fermions. The study adds that the presence of new physics can explain these fundamental mysteries by presenting a model of the universe with the fifth dimension that can be traversed by particles. Apparently the team in an email said, "We have been working on a similar topic for quite some time. Our initial motivation was to explain the possible origin of fermion masses and theories with a warped extra dimension. We knew that the masses of these constituents had some special features which were crying out for an explanation." There's a lot of constituents in Texas that are crying out for an explanation right now, too.
You feel me?
Boom. I'll be here all week. So the researchers are part of a long scientific tradition that questions whether the four dimensions that humans can comprehend, 3D space and time, are really all the universe has to offer. This line of research has produced 5-dimensional field equations that express the implications an extra dimension would have on the universe and reality itself. So basically, they'd have to rewrite all the books, everything, if they were, able to prove
That's
for sure.
why it's so hard for humans to really reach our true potential, brother.
Yeah.
Is because there's a big resistance from the establishment to not, like you just said, have to rewrite.
Exactly.
So, yeah, when new things are found.
And not admit that they were wrong.
Yeah, and that's not.
Because it'll lead to other things.
And it's not even like you're wrong. To me, we all build on each other. There's no such thing as real credit. That's why I'm not big on, even though I got a figure on me right now, I'm not big on figures because it's about human thought. We all connect and we all build on the next person builds on the previous thought, and we keep on trying to improve. So
exactly,
it's not about one person, but that's what we keep trying to make it about, like who can do it first, and that's the limitation. The ego, the
who's
shadow.
your daddy, people?
Who is your freaking daddy?
Yeah.
But it's like as above, so below. Since I do got the comedic gear on today, what they're trying to figure out is that dark matter, that melanin, that power we all have within us, and we're searching the universe, and we don't spend enough time going within, and really tapping into like they said, the fifth dimension, hydro, what's the word? Hydroplaning, not hydroplaning, but when you go
teleport,
teleporting essentially, in your mind, mentally, and thoughts exchanging, without a word being said, all these telekinetic
telepathy.
Things. Yeah. So me and you have talked about it extensively about how we believe that, our powers are being limited because we're just pretty much giving them up to all this technology. So yeah, man.
And our diet.
As they continue to search and scour the universe for the answer, I'm going to continue to say that the answer lies within.
I was going to say,
each
search
and
this
every
universe.
One of us. Yes.
This is the universe.
The solar plex.
Yeah.
I'm still in my sacral. I got my stone with me, y'all. I showed y'all last time. I still got it. Y'all believe me.
Yeah.
Next time when I got a new one, I'll bring it out. But yeah, the solar plexus, the heart chakra, like tap into that. That's what all these things, that's what the ancients did. These big monoliths we see around the world, they were tapped into above and what's within, as within, so without. So
exactly.
That's awesome though, man. I'm not trying to go so spiritual and metaphysical.
Oh, I love that you did.
But they all tie in though. Science,
I believe they do.
Religion.
I believe they all do.
You said light and dark.
I believe they all do.
That's what religion is talking about.
I believe they all do. Yeah, I believe they all tie in. I know they do. I read the text. I read all the different texts, and I see it all tie in. All the biblical literature is all just a bunch of it's allegorical. It has to do with astronomy, astrology, and different celestial cosmic events. It's like a especially the New Testament's got a lot of like cryptic shit in there. A lot of acknowledgments of like ancient mystery schools. The original Christians didn't even believe that Christ was a person. It was all about the allegory of the story. Had nothing to do with like a person of flesh and bone. That was all added hundreds of years later.
Christ consciousness is what it was about.
Yeah, it was basically. So, but what's interesting is then, remember, you shared this with me too. And I told you, I was like, hey, you know what's crazy is they've always said that in like science fiction movies. And that is that black holes are portals to other universes or other dimensions. And the theory for so long was that black holes, if you entered a black hole, would just fucking rip you apart, right?
Okay.
The gravity or the lack of gravity, whatever it is, was such that it would just fucking tear you to shreds. So it says, according to Albert Einstein's theory of general relativity, black holes are uninhabitable chasms of space-time that end in a singularity or a mass of infinite density. It's a place so bleak, even the laws of physics break down there. But what if black holes aren't so forbidding? What if they are instead some kind of intergalactic stargate, or maybe even a passageway into a whole other universe? According to the startling new results, black holes do not culminate in a singularity. Rather, they represent portals to other universes. Right? It's weird how all this is coming out at the same time, though.
Yeah.
The UFOs, the existence of the fifth dimension being, proven with the heavy particle, time travel.
Is the Pentagon's 60 days? Was this 90 days? Is that up yet?
No. No, it's not up. There's plenty more to come. Yeah, maybe this is them all just getting rid of that information. Here, guys, put it out so we don't have to. Looks better. Looks better coming from Newsweek.
Mm-hmm.
That's a great point, brother. I didn't think of that. But yeah, you guys know what to do.
That's why they've been disseminating shit to us anyway.
Get the hot chick with the nice cleavage out there to say this, because this one's rough. Today it was just revealed that there's 97% fluoride in the water. Everyone's at home like, fuck yeah, I don't even care. You know what I mean? Jesus, bro. So anyways, this first theory, it's called this new theory, actually, it's called loop quantum gravity. Gravity, your favorite word, Buck. Loop quantum gravity. This new theory is based on a concept known as loop quantum gravity. It was first formulated as a way of merging standard quantum mechanics and standard general relativity in order to remedy incompatibilities between the two fields. Basically, loop quantum gravity proposes that space-time is granular or atomic in nature. It is made up of minuscule, indivisible chunks about the same size as the Planck length, which roughly amounts to 10 to 35 meters in size. Researchers Jorge Puyin from Louisiana State University and Rodolfo Gambini from the University of the Republic in Montevideo, Uruguay, crunched the numbers to see what would happen inside a black hole under the parameters of loop quantum gravity. What they found was far different from what happens according to general relativity alone. There was no singularity. Instead, just as the black hole began to squeeze tight, it suddenly loosened its grip as if a door was being opened. Crazy, right?
Yeah, that is crazy.
That's wild. That's fucking nuts, dude. So everything they thought was going to happen once they were able to recreate a black hole didn't happen. It didn't happen. It didn't turn into a singularity where it fucking busted everything apart. It loosened up and started opening up to something. So the whole science fiction, supposedly science fiction, approach to what they've been saying for years is black holes being portals to other dimensions looks like that may be, in fact, what the fuck they are.
It's the flower of life that keeps giving instead of taking away.
Yeah.
Because they say like you get sucked into a black hole. Who knows, man? It's interesting stuff, though. It's mind bending, really, when you think about it.
It is.
but somebody's out there trying to do the math on it and figure that shit out. Kudos to them.
That's what's really crazy is all the math and shit that goes into it. Because I just took a statistics course, a pre-statistics course. It wasn't even statistics. It was pre-statistics at Santa Monica College. That shit was rough. If my son, my oldest, or my youngest son rather, if he wasn't in school like and knew that type of math already, he had already done that shit like 2 or 3 years ago.
Yeah. I like that type of stuff. I
that
like
shit
numbers,
was rough.
but it is tough, especially after you've been away from it for a while.
Man.
And the reason why gravity, I'm not big on gravity, is because it's never been fully established as law. Like I said, you can only study the effects of gravity on objects. You know, you can't measure gravity, but also. I think what we call gravity is also mistaken sometimes for inertia and velocity, you know, the effects of those things, and buoyancy and, you know, density, and also electromagnetics, you know, like I was saying before, the poles may be switching. And this is all stuff that's over my head, you know what I mean? But I'm just explaining my understanding of it. The poles of the earth may be switching, and that's something that people don't even give any credence to, and that's a big ass deal, you know. So our planet is magnetically pulled, you know.
Right.
People already know, if they listen to this pod quite often, that I believe that we live on a plane, and at the center, which would be magnetic north, is the North Pole. You know, that's why all compasses point north, you know. So it's a lot more based on magnetic pull to me than gravitational pull, you know. So yeah, that's just something I throw out there for the people to look into themselves, you know. That's just my feeling on it, you know.
Yeah.
So it's interesting though.
Yeah.
All of it's still interesting to me. Like, just because I'm skeptical doesn't mean, like I said again, is that I'm dismissive, because I'm not, you know. Yeah. Because I didn't do the science that those people did. I'm just a guy giving them my opinion, you know, based on the things that I've read and researched. Yeah.
Well, I love the whole. I love the theory of time travel myself. I love. Do you see the picture of Mike Tyson? That Mike Tyson fight, and there's a dude in the background on a cell phone.
I've heard of that picture. Yeah, I think I've seen it. Yeah.
And then did you see, what about Jay-Z? Did you see that Jay-Z picture of the guy who looks just like Jay-Z?
Yep.
That's weird, right?
Yep.
And then there's one of this 1941 hipster, but that one doesn't. It doesn't, for me, didn't. I looked at it. There's this guy. It's called the Hipster, and it's a guy with sunglasses at like a racetrack. You know what I'm talking about? But he looks like he belongs there. He looks like he belongs in that era. Those sunglasses.
It wasn't too.
Those sunglasses were from that time. I looked up sunglasses, 1940s. They had that same weird round. I mean, like, he looked exactly like he belonged there, bro. He just looked like a kook. You know what I mean? Like no one you'd want to hang around with today, but of course not. It's fucking 80 years ago. And then there's actually a clip called Chaplin's Time Traveler, and there's shows a premiere of one of Charlie Chaplin's movies, dude, from 1928 at the Chinese Theater out there in Hollywood, and someone's walking by and they got this shit up to their ear like this, bro. But like on this side where the camera is, and I'm like, yo, bro, I don't know what that is. And a lot of people have said, oh, it's some sort of listening device, one of the old school hearing aids. But I'm like, but you walk like this with the motherfucker? Like, it looked legit like a phone. I can't tell what was in the motherfucker's hand, but it looked weird as fuck, you know?
I wish I would have known we were going to talk about this, because I've seen some compelling things and done a little research on that before, but I don't have any of those notes present, so I don't want to just start spewing off stuff. But again, KT, the arts degree, and I think young Pharaoh did some dives on some time travel where they pretty much are saying that, yeah, it's possible. I don't know if it was in relation to quantum computing.
Yeah.
But I don't know. They were pointing out different things, which quantum computing is still jumping by leaps and bounds, the things that they're able to do, because that's going to be part of that whole smart city 6G type of deal. Because what the quantum computer does is it takes the computer from binary to how it is now to where the computer, that's how they're going to be able to make it think on its own once they get that quantum, because then it can be not just one, it can be 1, 2, or 3, or both. You know, that's what the quantum thing is. Again, over my head, but still interesting. You know what I'm saying?
Sounds like we know what we're talking about.
We try our best. You know
what I'm saying?
To at
These
least
motherfuckers
be
out here
aware.
believe it. You guys believe it, right? Sounds believable. They're like, fuck yeah. People are on the way to work right now. Like, fuck yeah, they're going to go into work. Hey, guess what? Singularity, bitches. Bam.
Yeah. You know what's a trip too is I have to get thicker skin as a public figure, because when people just watch the clip, they may think that one guy said, you guys just get your stuff from mainstream media. And I'm like, this dude doesn't watch our pod because we are so not mainstream media. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But then I had to remind myself, he's just watching the clips, because all his comments I saw, he left like 2 or 3 comments. They were just on the clips.
Right.
So I'm like, well, duh. He didn't watch the full thing.
He
just
watched the pre-recorded episode when we had the...
Yeah.
Fortunately, someone passed and we had to delay the release.
But also, I got to get used to people just having comments that...
Right.
Because they may just drop in for the clip. They may not be longtime subscribers, you know? So just like if I'm being sarcastic and somebody doesn't know I'm being sarcastic and they're like, oh my gosh, he likes this, you know? And I'm like, nah, fool, that was a joke, but he wouldn't catch it. So it is what it is, bro. That's why I'm glad that most of the time you watch those comments, because you do a good job of it, brother. Thank you to y'all that keep commenting.
I'm watching those comments.
We said that a grip, but it really does mean a lot.
It does. I'm watching those comments. So have you heard of the Glocke, the German time machine from World War II?
The Glocke.
Yeah. D-I-E.
You mean
Second word, G-L-O-C-K-E.
The thing?
Nah.
The burner?
Nope. It's shaped like a bell.
The blicky?
So check it out. There's a small valley in Poland, and there's a strange circular structure, and it's cement, and it's got all these pillars, but it's got like this ring that connects it, and it's all cement.
Okay.
And they call it the hinge or the fly trap. And they say the official explanation is that it's a concrete base of a cooling tower used by a coal mine. But people who don't believe that, they're calling bullshit on that, say no, the German military high command wouldn't have devoted so many resources to the area if it was only an energy plant. You feel what I'm saying?
Okay.
All right. So apparently there's 2 German scientists in World War II, Hermann Obert and Werner von Braun, who we know went on to, through Operation Paperclip, came to the United States and created NASA.
Yes.
Okay, we're working on a bell-shaped craft that was electromagnetic in its propulsion system. You just brought up electromagnetic, right?
Yes, indeed.
Okay. So it had a ceramic covering. It was 10 feet high, 5 feet in diameter. And because its design is contrary to modern aerodynamic principles, they believed it wasn't for flight. They believed it was for time travel. And the guy behind the project, he was an SS general. His name was Hans Kammler. He was going to defect to either the Soviet Union or the United States in exchange for immunity and for this science and for this research, but he disappeared. So people say, okay, did he get it to work finally and got the bell to disappear? Or did they come kill him and take his research, which is probably what they did, right? You're not going to talk about it. We'll kill you, get you out of the way, and take your bell. And the reason I think the latter of the two happened is because on December 9th, 1965, in Kecksburg, Pennsylvania, a fireball was reported by citizens of 6 U.S. states and in Canada. They investigated the crash site and determined it was debris from a Soviet satellite. And what they found was a bell-shaped craft. Just exactly what it looks like what the Nazis had. So I think they found this bell and they took it, and if there was any blueprints or whatever, or maybe they found him too and did give him immunity. They definitely took the technology from what I could see. They even have a statue of the bell in this town to this day. And there was writing all on the side of it, these hieroglyphics.
Wow.
Yeah. And so then you'll love this because it has your favorite organization in there, NASA. Leslie Kean, this woman, she wants information on it. So NASA on October 26, 2007 is like, we don't know what you're talking about. She's like, no, fuck that, bro. There's a big Bell statue out here. These people, like, what are you talking about? Like, you know what I'm talking about. So Steve McConnell, who is NASA's public liaison officer, testified, bro, that 2 boxes, bro, of papers from the time of the Kecksburg incident were missing. Okay? At this time, you know what else they found was missing?
The moon landing.
Yes, bro. The moon landing, bro. The moon landing. The original tapes recorded during the televised Apollo 11 moon landing were misplaced or reused, bro. Dude, I was born in 1977. I played flag football in 1985. I have VHS tapes down there right now that I guard with my life. I would never record over them. The moon landing? You reused them? The moon landing. Come on, dog. Or they were misplaced?
And they don't have the...
Then what are we watching?
And they don't have the coordinates anymore that got them there. They can't recreate it right now.
Yeah, of course they can't. What the fuck are we watching, bro?
But apparently China
if
went
it's
to
not
the
the
dark
original...
side.
Dude, I saw footage. This is weird as fuck. Where one of the guys from either Apollo 11 or something... Well, that's the only ones that went to the moon, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so it was one of the dudes. Someone approached the astronauts, one of the astronauts, in a fucking hotel lobby with a Bible, dude, and was like, put your fucking hand on the Bible and swear that you fucking went to the fucking moon. This dude fucking freaked out and took off running, bro. First, he calls him on the bullshit of like what he noticed. He goes, there's a particular part in the video, and I forgot what it was. I wish I remember. He goes, but you did this. And you can clearly see that it's fake, and the guy starts stiffening up and shit. He goes, so I'm giving you a chance right now to put your hand on the Bible and swear that you landed on the moon. And the guy's like, get away from me. He starts being weird, bro. Get away from me. And like walking all fast, and then he just takes off running real fast, bro. And I was like, that's weird as fuck. I would have been like, bro, I landed on the moon. Get out of here, you weirdo. You know what I mean?
I don't know. That's just wild, bro.
Yeah.
The moon be out during midday, bro. I'd be like, the hell? What's just going on?
That shit's crazy, bro.
It's all crazy.
Yeah. So then there's this other device, bro, called the Chronovisor. And what's interesting about this one, bro?
The coronavirus?
Órale, dog.
Damn.
Okay. That one, de Glocke. Okay, next to it, it says hoax, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, if you look up on Wikipedia.
Okay.
But it doesn't say that for the Chronovisor or any of these other ones. It doesn't say hoax. So I'm like, so what are you just admitting that these were real then, or what? You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And I don't think the other one was fucking fake either. But anyways, this one is described by Father Francois Brunei in his 2002 book, Le Nouveau Mystère du Vatican, which translates to the Vatican's New Mystery. Allegedly a functional time machine viewer. Brune is the author of several books on the paranormal and religion in early 1960s. He says that this man named Ernetti began studying his writings, and they were both Roman Catholic priests and authors. And Ernetti allegedly ended up helping Brune construct the machine as members of a team which included 12 world-famous scientists. He identified 2 of them as Enrico Fermi and Werner von Braun. He's there again. Right? The Chronovisor was, this is spelled Chron, as in Nancy, V as in Victor, Isor, Chronovisor.
That's the thing you put on to keep the coronavirus, the
There you
visor.
go. That's what it is. It's the Chronovisor, dog. You heard it here first. It's
working.
Kush And Chemtrails. I'm so fucking high right now. Dude, those dabs got me fucked up before we fucking started the pod. I'm faded. Anyways, the Chronovisor was described as a large cabinet with a cathode ray tube for viewing the received events and a series of buttons, levers, and other controls for selecting the time and the location to be viewed. It could also locate and track specific individuals. According to its inventor, it worked by receiving, decoding, and reproducing the electromagnetic radiation left behind from past events. You just talked about electromagnetic radiation. It could also pick up the audio component or sound waves emitted by these same events. The alleged existence of the Chronovisor has fueled a whole series of conspiracy theories, such as that the device was seized and is actually used by the Vatican or by those who secretly control governments and their economies all around the world. The fact that I saw that last part on Wikipedia, that's why I included it, because that tells me when they're trying to throw me off the trail to that degree that it's real. I mean, come on. The alleged existence of the Chronovisor has fueled a whole series of conspiracy theories, such as that the device was seized and is actually used by the Vatican or by those who secretly control governments and their economies all around the world. So we all know that's true.
Now here's where I'm going to push back on you.
Please do.
If it's true, give me an example of how you would see that they could use it to their advantage. Obviously, we could all think of many, but I don't
know.
What if they have a time machine? What are they doing?
I don't know. Maybe they're stopping other people from seeing the future. I don't know. Maybe it's not about them
taking out the black
it.
messiahs.
Just stopping motherfuckers from using it.
Or
maybe they already know how to, and they don't want other people to know either, because it levels the playing field. Maybe that's what it is. Because I don't know what their use would be. I don't know what they'd have a use for.
So they're traveling time, and they're going interdimensionally.
Yeah, could be. And they don't want other people to do it. So then I got this one. This is a new one. That's what's interesting about this. This is a new one. And this was invented by a 27-year-old named Ali Raziki. Shout out to Ali Raziki from Iran. A young Iranian inventor claims to have built a time machine that can predict a person's future with startling accuracy. Ali Raziki, who is 27 and the managing director of Iran's Center for Strategic Inventions, claims his device will print out a report detailing an individual's future after using complex algorithms to predict his or her fate.
Bro, that's a fortune cookie.
Raziki told Iran's state-run Fars news agency that his device easily fits into the size of a personal computer case and can predict details of the next 5 to 8 years of the life of its users. It will not take you into the future. It will bring the future to you.
Yeah. I'll buy stock in that.
Dude.
People want that. I don't want the service. I just want to buy stock in that.
Oh, yeah. But here's what's interesting. They brought in a physicist to debunk this guy, but in debunking him, he totally validates the guy's claim. The first 2 sentences is him like doing his best, and then he adds like a 1 at the very end. But in between, he's totally saying like, yeah, this is all possible. So he goes, so what do you think of Raziki's claim that he's built a time machine that can predict a person's future? It's completely nuts. That's how a fucking physicist answered that question, bro. It's completely nuts. Does his alleged time machine break any laws of physics? It's hard to know because it's so wacky. It's like it's AOC talking, bro. You know, she's all like, woohoo, wacky and like weird and shit. All right. What are some popular misconceptions about time travel? One popular misconception is that you can go back to any time in the past, and that's not true. You can only go back as far as the time when the time machine was invented. So if I invented my time machine today and I wait 30 years and go back to the past, the farthest back in the past I can go is today when I turn my time machine on.
Interesting.
Okay. Another major misconception, and you see this a lot in time travel movies, is the idea that you can go back in time and change the timeline. In these stories, the time traveler goes backward in time and does something that mucks up the future and subsequently has to do something or restore the timeline. However, that cannot be the case. Since we can't have the same event both happen and not happen in the same universe, you can't change the past. Right? Okay.
But that's where we go into multiverses. But
right.
Go ahead.
Exactly, which is exactly what he says. For example, suppose I go back in time and try to kill my grandfather. If I succeed, then of course I'm never born and I could never have made the trip back to using my time machine. Once again, we can't have the same event, the killing of my grandfather, both happen and not happen in the same universe. Now watch this. So it's like he's trying to dismiss it, like maybe, whatever. But then they go, is there any way of getting around this grandfather paradox? There are 2 possibilities. So there is a way to get around it. So it is possible. You just said it's not possible. He literally said it wasn't because he's going to kill his grandpa, right? And not be able to take the trip back. But now he's saying, nah, there's possibilities. That's what I mean, like double speak. There are two possibilities. One is what's sometimes called the self-consistency scenario, in which all events along the time loop that I make are adjusted to be self-consistent. So, for example, if I go back in time and try to shoot my grandfather, something will always prevent me from doing so. The recoil on my shoulder makes me miss, or my grandfather ducks, or I change my mind. It's like the universe and the laws of physics are conspiring to make things consistent. The other possibility, is what you said, is that when I shoot my grandfather, the universe splits, and there's one universe in which I shoot my grandfather, and there's another universe in which I did not shoot my grandfather. So that's where he brings up the multiverse theory. So then they say, okay, so you might not be able to travel to the past, but is future time travel possible? This guy said, this predicts your future, not your past. And he said, that's completely nuts. It's completely nuts to think you can travel to the future. Well, there's no problem with that. What? In fact, we know how to do it in principle. If you travel very close to the speed of light, time slows down for the space traveler compared to someone on Earth. Another way of traveling to the future is by orbiting very close to a black hole. For example, if you orbit around the black hole at the center of our galaxy, you could also have your time stretched relative to observers on the Earth. So he said that it's not possible. Now he's saying, according to this, it is possible.
Science.
Based on science, and based on what he knows, right. It is possible.
But not the way that we perceive it, is what he's saying. He's giving in, but he's not giving in.
Exactly. So if future time travel is possible, then could a time machine like the one the Iranian businessmen claim to have built actually work? They're calling him a businessman now. He literally was not. He's a scientist that works at this fucking place where they invent
now they're
shit.
calling him
a businessman, right. So going to the future is no problem. Dude, you just said it wasn't. A mechanism for traveling into the future is afforded by Einstein's theory of relativity. It's when you try to go backward that you run into the grandfather paradox. However, that said, what the businessman, not the scientist, claims to have built is still nuts. Even though you just said it can work.
So he's all over the place. I see what you're saying. What's interesting too, though, is they're calling it a time machine, but you're not traveling to the future. They're giving you a glimpse of the future.
Exactly.
So it's Miss Cleo again.
Yeah.
Call
and
me
he
now.
said this one's based on algorithms, math, based on what you're doing right now. Yeah. And like, bro,
that's why I said I want stock in that shit.
If you can basically show me commercials that I'm interested in on Facebook or Instagram based on my past fucking things, and you see me interacting with it, then what the fuck is the difference? You probably be like, look, you're probably going to look at this. They're already doing it, it feels like. Yep. Right?
That was a cool little dive.
Yeah. Yeah.
I do it, though. You know that movie Click? With
Was it with Ashton? No.
Adam Sandler.
Adam Sandler. Yeah, I do remember that shit, bro.
The movie was amazing because I have to remind myself of Click often. Is because I may have shared this with the pod or with you.
Yeah.
Sometimes in life, you fast forward because you're maybe doing something you don't want to do, or something you don't deem worth your time at that moment, and you want to get to something else that you want to do.
Yeah.
Me and you even talked about it with this pod, wanting to get to that moment of success, but things are like not what they seem at the end of the rainbow. That's the trick in life. It's a weird thing. We want to get to the end, but then you get to the end and you realize, damn, I missed it. It was actually those moments. Then you reminisce. But instead of reminiscing, you should just be in the moment.
Living in that moment.
Yeah, it's like that's the trick. That's the paradox. We're always trying to improve. We're always trying to grow. We're focused on what's changing around us and how we're going to survive, how we're going to react, how we're going to respond. And it's like, sometimes it's just cool to just be. Like straight up and down, man.
Boom.
Straight up and down.
I love it.
And speaking of just being, everybody knows on this pod and that knows me, I'm about like trying to live a naturalistic lifestyle. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes that's harder than it should be. It's easier said than done, because what we've been trained is that we need protein and that we need, to count our calories And most people are stuck into a paradigm where they believe that their health is based on their weight, on what the scale tells them, you know. When they see me eating healthy, they're like, why do you eat healthy? You're skinny already, you know, or they equate everything to weight. Yeah. And they don't truly understand that it's a lifestyle, because eating healthy allows me to think clearer, you know, because I'm not so bogged down by saturated food, processed food, and a lot of things that don't allow my chakras to be in alignment and my gut health to be proper, and, you know, my optimal, you know, the flow of my body, the rhythm, you know, that the blood, you know, to be clean and have those minerals of the earth, you know, to be tapped in. So in this whole journey, I'm watching as it's becoming more popular and more people are waking up to the fact that a lot of the stuff that they're giving us is causing the sickness.
Yeah.
Shoot, this food is way more dangerous than any pandemic. Facts.
Heart disease is the
Take
number one
that
killer,
to
bro.
the bank.
Heart disease is the number one killer. People, look it up. I don't give a fuck what they fucking fudge, what number they fudge. It's the number one killer.
And they're
has
saying
been for 20 plus years.
This pandemic is killing people because of pre-existing conditions
Fuck
based
yeah.
on a lot of the stuff we're putting in our body.
Exactly.
Granted, we point out stuff that outside of our control, people, but sometimes some of this stuff is in our control, and you got to take, you know, take control of your life.
Yeah, being a victim is a choice.
So the point I wanted to make is this movement is beautiful, because the stores now have more healthy options. The restaurants have more healthy options, but you got to be careful, people, because they've co-opted the movement, just like everything we talk about has been hijacked. Once it goes corporate mainstream, the good thing is, for one, our dollar, our purchasing power has been shown. We want healthier stuff. So fast food restaurants are using more natural ingredients. They're coming clean now and letting you know that they haven't been doing good business practices, but they hear you and they're going to try to change because they want your dollar. They don't want you to give up on them, because they're seeing their bottom line hurting, just like the sports industry with their analytics. And I'll get to that later. But so they're moving to the rhythm of the people, but you got to watch out, because this Impossible Foods and this Beyond Burgers and the one you pointed out, the Nova meat, and all these 3D printed meats, and the ones Bill Gates backs. Horrible. I'm not saying don't eat them at all, people. I'm not. This is not a bashing of anything in particular. It's just to let you know, stuff that's said to be plant-based is not necessarily plant-based, man. This stuff is like made in some type of laboratory.
Yeah, bro.
My wife bought some meatballs recently.
It's not like they went and harvested some plants
from
and made
Costco,
that shit.
bro. Man, the texture of this shit tastes like.
Yeah, bro.
And it's supposed to be like, you know, vegetable proteins or whatever.
That's the next move. It's not about health. It's about convenience.
It's processed.
It's easier to fucking make that than to raise a cow and slaughter it and
and they're going to do it under the guise of what you already laid out. This agenda to save the planet.
Agenda 21.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bill Gates already said that.
Yeah,
all
he's got
the
his
rich
book
countries
coming out now.
Need to go that way.
Yeah, of course. Let's listen to Bill Gates.
To the Beyond Meat. So what I'm saying, it's not just the meat though, too. It's a lot of the packaging. It's a lot of the fast foods that say plant-based. It's the new, before it was plant-based, it was gluten-free. You know, they throw gluten-free on everything.
Sugar-free diet, gluten-free. I mean, bro.
Even watch out for vegan, my people, because they throw vegan on it and
organic.
I don't do the milk, so I do buy vegan products, but then you got to read the ingredients, because they'll have soy lecithin. You know what I mean? Maybe the first ingredient is sugar. You know, so you got to be careful. A lot of this stuff is refined, processed. You know, it's not good for you. So I don't want to go on a whole health rant, but I just feel like people need to be aware, because I see what's happening. Like, people have good intentions.
Yeah.
And the corporations are moving based on what the people want, supply and demand.
Right.
But don't be fooled, people, and think that you're eating healthy just because it says vegan or plant-based.
Yeah, some Trojan horse shit.
Because what it made me really think about is labels. As soon as you start labeling some shit, you limit it. You know what I mean? You really put a limit on it. So something that's beautiful, like my diet, I try to do like Dr. Sebi, an electric diet. But when I try to describe it to people, they want to call me a pescatarian. They're like, oh, you eat fish, you don't eat meat, you're a pescatarian. Or they want to say, oh, you're like a vegetarian or you're a vegan. And they put these labels on me. And my wife like tried to live under these labels and stuff. And I told her, like, stop trying to be what these people want us to be, and don't buy these things just because they say these words. That don't mean shit.
Yeah.
My diet is electric. My diet is from the earth. It's natural. It's herbs. It's plants. It's, you know, it's fruits. It's vegetables. And some people don't even look at that as food, bro. I could give my sons fruits and vegetables and they'll be like, give them some real food, you know, some beans or something hearty to stick to them, you know, because we've been so brainwashed, bro. So, yeah, that's my piece on that, man. Watch out for labels, because labels are very limiting and misleading, just like how they call Christians and Christianity. And you know, we both know that during the time of Christ, that wasn't the case, you know. So what happens is labels come after, just like Black Lives Matter. There was a movement, and then the label comes after. Yeah. And the label seems to take on, in history context, the label gets the credit or the that's what's going to be remembered, but it's not the truth, you know? Yeah. So that's what I see happening again. It's being just like hip hop, you know, I can name so many things, you know. I'm not saying that the name hip hop is the reason why, but it was one thing and then it was taken and turned into something else.
I agree 100%.
And I see that happening here with this. So, man, eat healthy, eat fresh, eat raw, and do your own research and eat and read the ingredients, people. Oh yeah. Don't just think because the Beyond Burger, oh, it's vegan, you know. No, that shit was made somewhere, and I don't know what they put in that shit. Yeah. It really does taste like meat, though, bro. It's just weird, man.
I've had them before, bro. I've had them. They do taste like
they're good. Meat. Whatever they're doing, they're good. I don't want it, man. That's some Frankenstein shit.
It is. It's probably a person, but whatever. Hey, I was talking to you earlier about the Philadelphia experiment. Remember?
Elaborate.
It had to do with with time travel, actually.
Okay.
So in 1955.
My fault. I cut off. I didn't even know you were. Still...
Nah, you didn't cut me off.
Okay.
Go ahead. I mean, we just came back to it.
Go for it.
In 1955. There was a Dr. Morris Jessup, Morris K. Jessup, Jessup. Look that up, you guys. And he received 2 letters from a guy named Carlos Miguel Allende, like Allende, but it's Allen as in Nancy, D as in dog, E, Allende, who claimed to have witnessed a secret World War II experiment at the Philadelphia Naval Shipyard. In this experiment, Allende claimed the destroyer escort USS Eldridge was rendered invisible, teleported to New York, teleported to another dimension where it encountered interdimensional beings, then teleported through time, resulting in the deaths of several sailors, some of whom were fused with the ship's hull.
What the fuck?
Yeah. And
how does he know this? He was on the boat?
Yeah, and Jessup dismissed Allende as a crackpot. That was in 1955, right? However, then in 1957, guess who contacts Jessup?
The CIA.
Close enough. The Office of Naval Research. 2 years later, in Washington, D.C., they had received a parcel containing a paperback copy of his book, of the doctor's book, in a manila envelope marked Happy Easter. The book had been extensively annotated in its margins, written with 3 different shades of pink ink, appearing to detail a correspondence among 3 individuals, only one of whom is given a name, Jemi, Jemmy. The others are labeled Mr. A and Mr. B. So this guy, Dr. Jessup, wrote a book, and in reading this book, this Carlos Allende was like, wow, this guy's onto something. Let me write these notes into his book and let these fucking people from the Navy know, like, hey, there's people out there that know what's up. Like, we're onto you. You can't stop what we're doing here. You know what I mean? And he had already reached out to Jessup, but Jessup didn't reach out back to him. So they show up and they talk to him about that. And then the officers convinced the Navy to fund a 1958 small printing of 100 copies of this volume called by the Texas-based Varo Manufacturing Company. V as in Victor, ARO, which later became known as the Varo edition. So they took that book with the notes in it, and they made copies of it for themselves. And then 2 years later after that, dude, on April 20th, 1959, they found that dude, Dr. Jessup, on the side of a highway with a fucking hose coming from his exhaust pipe into his car, and he was dead.
Wow.
So 4 years after he had originally established contact with Carlos Miguel Allende, that happened. He fucking was dead.
Damn.
Crazy, right? So here's the experiment, the Philadelphia experiment. So the experiment was allegedly based on an aspect of some unified field theory, a term coined by Albert Einstein to describe a class of potential theories. Such theories would aim to describe the interrelated nature of the forces of electromagnetism and gravity.
We got to do an Albert Einstein episode.
We should.
He comes up a lot, bro.
The the interrelated nature of the forces of electromagnetism and gravity. In other words, uniting their respective fields into a single field. According to some accounts, unspecified researchers thought that some version of this field would enable using large electrical generators to bend light around an object via refraction so that the object became completely invisible. The Navy regarded this as of military value, and it sponsored the experiment. So Einstein went to them and was like, look, I know how to make shit turn invisible. Let me fucking do it, and you guys fund it. And I promise it'll work. And that's what this experiment, that's how this fucking started.
Got you.
So, let's see. Another unattributed version of the story proposes that the researchers were preparing magnetic and gravitational measurements of the seafloor to detect anomalies, supposedly based on Einstein's attempt to understand gravity. In this version, there were also related secret experiments in Nazi Germany to find anti-gravity, allegedly led by SS Obergruppenführer Hans Kammler. So that was from the Bell experiment, Hans Kammler. Remember we just talked about that guy on the a little bit ago. But you know what? I keep thinking about gravity. What if they just got it wrong? Like exactly what you said, inertia, like something else.
No, gravity is used to explain the ball globe theory. So
maybe that's why Einstein can't understand it. His attempts to understand gravity.
I don't want to open up that can of worms because that's a whole can of worms there. That's why I keep on saying that's my opinion.
Right.
Because I know that most people believe in gravity and the ball Earth. So I don't want to go down that rabbit hole.
So what?
Basically, I'm just telling you that that's a belief of mine because I believe in it. I believe.
I know. I'm just saying, like, fuck.
No, I'm not mad at that. I'm just saying that it's incumbent upon me to explain, and I don't want to.
Gotcha. Yeah. So there are no reliable, attributable accounts, but in most accounts of the supposed experiment, USS Aldridge was fitted with the required equipment at the Philadelphia Naval Shipyard. Testing began in the summer of 1943, and it was supposedly successful to a limited extent. One test resulted in Aldridge being rendered nearly invisible, with some witnesses reporting a greenish fog appearing in its place. Crew members complained of severe nausea afterwards. Also reportedly, when the ship reappeared, some sailors were embedded in the metal structures of the ship, including one sailor who ended up on the deck level below than where he began.
Okay. So it happened. It happened, but not like his account. Maybe he was disoriented by the account or by the situation. Because he said it went to different portals and to different places. Maybe they used this experience to make it disappear. And he really experienced it, but it wasn't what he explained, you know?
Yeah.
I'm just postulating.
Yeah. Or maybe that's where it went when it disappeared. Because it disappeared.
Who knows?
Yeah.
Who knows?
Because that was so.
I could see it disappearing though. You know why? Because they have technology like that,
Yeah.
like the stealth bomber, or you know things. Today, man, there was a guy on Joe Rogan recently who was, you know, he was in the army or whatever, not the army, but you know, one of those units that would know about that type of stuff, and he was talking about if someone's seen the planes that they have now, we would think it was a UFO or an alien, you know, type of a. This dude had clearance to work at what Area 51 and shit though, because when Rogan asked him, he said I could neither confirm or deny, which pretty much means he did. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So he was saying we got shit pretty much that most people would think it was alien if they saw it.
For sure, I bet they would. So let's see. Greenish fog appeared in this place. Crew members have complained of severe nausea. Let's see, where was I at? Including one sailor who ended up on a deck level below than where he began and had his hand embedded in the steel hull of the ship, as well as some sailors who went completely bananas. There's also a claim the experiment was altered after that point at the request of the Navy, limiting it to creating a stealth technology that would render USS Eldridge invisible to radar.
Yeah, that's way out, bro.
Yeah, that shit's crazy. So yeah, when that shit reappeared, they were like stuck into the ship, fused into the ship.
That sound like a Jumanji.
Yeah, they said some of them reappeared inside out.
Like skin on the outside. I mean, organs on the outside.
Yeah, they like died and shit. Like a lot of them died. Yeah. Let's see. The conjecture then claims that the equipment was not properly recalibrated, but that in spite of this, the experiment was repeated on October 28, 1943. This time, Eldridge not only became invisible, but it disappeared from the area in a flash of blue light and teleported to Norfolk, Virginia. So it was 2 times. The second time is when it teleported.
Okay.
Norfolk, Virginia, over 200 miles away. It is claimed that the Eldridge sat for some time in view of men aboard the SS Andrew Furberseth, whereupon Eldridge vanished and then reappeared in Philadelphia at the site it had originally occupied. It was also said that the warship went approximately 10 minutes back in time. Many versions of the tale include descriptions of serious side effects for the crew. Some crew members were said to have been physically fused to bulkheads, while others suffered from mental disorders. Some rematerialized inside out, and still others vanished. It is also claimed that the ship's crew may have been subjected to brainwashing to maintain the secrecy of the experiment.
Or they were brainwashed to tell these tales. I don't know.
Yeah.
That's interesting, though.
Yeah.
Einstein. We need to look into Einstein, man. What's his affiliation?
Yeah, I don't know. Do not know. He's a Jew. Let's see. Carlos Allende. This is him right here. This is what he said.
He's a Jew.
He is. He's a German Jew. He is indeed.
Damn, smooth.
Yep.
Dr. Day done got to you.
Did she? Hold on, Landon. Carlos Allende. The Philadelphia experiment worked. That was what frightened the military. They didn't know what Einstein was doing. He used them to accomplish his own research and propulsion. This is the guy who told the story, guys, to the first guy that got him killed. He believed we could travel faster than the speed of light. That's what he was doing, and they didn't even know it. Allende maintains that in 1943, he was in a convoy of ships sailing to Algeria. They did experiments then. I said they must have done it 144 times. I don't know. At least 1,000 men have seen the ship become invisible. They radiated the target ship with electromagnetic beams. It started out as an experiment in degaussing, Degausssing ships so they wouldn't attract mines and making ships invisible to radar. But Einstein took it farther than anyone expected. He made the ship invisible to your eyes. Einstein was on the test ship. I was on the USS Furberseth. We were in a military convoy with many, many ships. I was on the bow. There is a place where you can stand on top of thick covers about a foot above the deck. That's where I was. The railing was curved. I hooked my left hand under the railing and leaned out as far as I could. The force field was under my nose. Really, it was under my chest and neck. It had spread out from the target ship. I reached into it with my right arm. It kicked. Curiosity. That's why I did it. You might say I was satisfied. I had my question answered. So this fool said he saw whatever the fuck they were projecting and reached out and touched it, and it shocked the shit out of him. The visibility of the force field is what disturbed Einstein and the defense investigators. As the ship became invisible, the force field became visible. They couldn't figure it out. That's why Einstein came to me. He saw me put my arm in. He wanted to know what I saw, what I had felt, if I smelled anything, and why I had done it. He sort of gave me an intelligence test. Once he realized that I did it out of scientific curiosity, he spent time with me. He gave me a rapid course in the physics of invisibility during the next 2.5 weeks. Let's see. Einstein and his team were using the Navy for their research. The whole group was Jewish. Steinmetz wound the coils on the beam generator. It was based on the work of Tesla, but only Steinmetz could make the winding.
I was waiting for Tesla's name to come up. Ooh, I was waiting on that.
That little
now I'm believing it because see, they always credit Einstein, but get to the shits when you're talking about
Tesla.
Yeah.
Right.
And what is it? Propulsion and energy.
Right.
Go ahead.
What Einstein really was working on was a starship propulsion system. You just brought up propulsion and energy. You have to realize that this was before rockets. This was before NASA's space program. This was Einstein's test of space travel. Starship drive, it's faster than light.
So see, this is again where words get twisted. When we think of space travel, we're thinking of the movies.
Yeah.
When they talk about space travel, they're talking about moving faster than the speed of light. They're talking about propulsion. They're talking about being able to move an object where our common physics don't allow. So in their mind, that's traveling space because you're breaking the time-space continuum. So I get it now. I get it. And that, I believe, is possible. Whereas the movie shit...
The movie's probably to throw us off.
You just thoroughly broke it down on
the movie's to throw us off.
Yeah.
Is everything else. Well, that's what space is.
But then again, it's the English language too, because here there's two languages going on. There's the layman terms, which is what most of us talk, and then there's the real what they're talking about. And then we continue to fight over the layman's terms like aliens and time travel. And then when they talk about it, they have the information, so it's a different conversation.
You're right.
So
it's a good point.
Yeah, it's like crazy, bro. So yeah, it is throwing us off the scent, but at the same time, it's like, no, we just, especially for people in the service, we're just civilians, bro.
Oh yeah.
So we're not privy to that.
Yep. So Allende goes on to say, he says, what Einstein proved was that invisibility is a precursor to propulsion. You get what I'm saying? It's a precursor to propulsion. It happens before as a result of, as a consequence.
Right. That makes sense.
Beyond the speed of light.
If you move quicker than my eye is
beyond the speed of light. Yeah.
Used to register and then you vanished.
Yes. So
that makes a lot of sense.
Is a precursor to propulsion beyond the speed of light. Invisibility is nothing more than the precondition to a practical utilization of the magnetic field related to the Einstein tunnel propulsion system. There is nothing to be afraid of with invisibility. Of the many combinations of human blood type, bone type, and flesh type, there is only one that remains invisible for life. Others are not affected adversely. This means that the door is open for star travel for all Americans. We must do it. We must proceed. This is the future. It must be fate. This is my deathbed statement. He died shortly after this. In case I die, the questions will be answered, all except one. That will die with me.
Astroplaning, astral projecting.
Astral projection.
That's what I was talking about earlier. Did I say hydroplaning? I don't know why.
Might have.
In my mind, I'm like, bro, did you say hydroplaning? Like in a car, like when you hit that wet spot, and then you start hydroplaning. That shit is scary, bro.
Yeah, that's happened to me. Fuck yeah. On the freeway, all kinds of shit.
Shit in those weather storms in Texas. And you know what? Shout out to the other states surrounding Texas,
Oklahoma,
Kentucky,
all those,
Louisiana, because we didn't shot those out on the previous pod.
They got hit hard too.
They were hitting those ice, the fucking highways and streets were just ice rinks, bro.
Yeah, man.
They were just sliding, man. Big ass pile ups.
It's a shame. Prayers to you guys. We mean it.
But yeah, astral projecting.
Man.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Tap into your own powers, people. Sorry, we don't have particle colliders and
Yeah.
superpowered
We are the
telescopes.
particle colliders.
Exactly, brother.
Right here, Kush and Chemtrails. Let's collide.
Alchemy. What you putting inside your body and what
You
you
know?
thinking about.
Yeah.
What you surrounded
Let those
with.
particles collide.
The frequencies, the people
Yeah.
you're around.
Don't always try to outdo nature, man. Maybe there's a reason we don't have the ability to collide particles. Maybe that shit's retarded and not supposed to do that.
Correct among those.
You know what I mean? But so he goes on to say, America has had the answer since 1943. All the answers are right under the nose of NASA and the Department of Defense, but they are still afraid. The secret is that the Philadelphia experiment is repeatable. It should be repeated again and again. It will lead to star travel and to a fleet of starships capable of protecting America. Travel faster than light has been documented as a phenomenon. Now we must learn again what Einstein knew in 1943. Man can create transportation at speeds faster than light.
Insert Space Force.
I was just going to say that. Exactly, right? Exactly.
And people laughed.
Exactly. The second thing, did you want to expand on that a little bit?
No, it's just that they're
Please
using
do.
all this technology to do this, and they could easily be powering our civilizations. So that's the saddest part. Again, going to the tragedy that happened in the South. And, you know, I know other regions were affected, but they're better built for the cold. So here we are using jet propulsion or, electromagnetic propulsion and Tesla and Einstein's technology to basically look for other planets and what, be the best military here on
Right.
Earth.
Right.
Okay, big deal, So you can secure the biggest economy to further
It's all about
perpetuate
money and power, bro.
Yeah,
It's weird.
the same shit that's going on. So instead of we could have free
Yeah, it's like never
energy,
enough.
bro.
It's never enough, bro. It's always, they always need more and more and more. It's like they want another whole dimension type deal. This area is not enough.
Yeah.
But so the second thing is that Einstein came to me and trained me in the theory of invisibility. He said they were using the Navy for his own research into starship propulsion. All the Navy wanted was radar invisibility. You can imagine their surprise, right? They got more than they fucking bargained for. Thirdly, when the ship was radiated with the energy beam, particles were thrown off. It formed a thin haze which increased in density. The haze became a mist, then a good solid fog of particles, atomic particles, and even whole atoms. It wasn't green or blue as has been reported, but an ultraviolet glow. Didn't you bring up ultraviolet light a little bit ago?
Yeah, I think we brought it up when I said the ultraviolet lights were increasing because of the polarity shift.
Right, so he's talking about that right there. The increasing density of the field caused a breaking effect. This breaking effect on every atom in the electron shell is vital to invisibility. It stopped the orbital motion. Electrons were slowed to a stop. That moment when they do stop, the enormous distances in atoms become apparent to the eye. If a nucleus were the size of a pea, the first electron shell would be about 2,500 miles out on that scale. That is an enormous distance, mostly empty space. When the electron shell orbital motion is stopped, the illusion of solidity is removed. That is the basis of invisibility. You are simply seeing the empty space. So it spreads out the... What was that? The electrons, or
That's interesting.
so? Yeah, it spreads out. It
Because
spreads
that
them
goes
out
into
so
the
far.
string and the wave theory that we were talking
Yeah,
about.
it-
So
it
it just
appears
basically,
invisible.
it messes up our perception.
Yeah, because it spreads everything out.
But see, you dinged another thing that made me think about this whole, new era that we're in, where everything that gets you sick is being blamed on the pandemic.
Yeah.
I remember when I first looked into the technology that's being rolled out for the 5G, some of the things that were being said was it does something like that to the oxygen in the air, the particles, it removes something like it ionizes basically the particles to where it affects the oxygen that we breathe, man. So when people say that the phones themselves aren't doing damage, I remember I brought that up on a pod before that we did, where they were trying to dispel it by saying it only puts out so many kilowatts,
Yeah.
but that's not even taking into account the effect on the environment around us, you know? So when people are having these respiratory issues, it really makes me think like, man, because the air around us is even being affected by this frequency change.
Right.
And it ain't slowing down. Like you said, they're just trying to increase it by going to the 6G.
Right.
And all they're doing is priming us for everything that we've been talking about, like this new technology where they're trying to our reality is only what we perceive with our five senses, but they're tapping into what we don't see, the invisible, like you're saying, you know. And there is a lot. It's just like what I said. The gift and the curse of capitalism is, you know, innovation goes to becoming like treacherous at some point, and I feel like that's the point we're at now, even with this technology. So they're trying to tap into like that subconscious, that shadow, the emptiness of the space, you know, these new frequencies with this new technology to go even faster.
That's what he just said too earlier. They were like new technology, and that one thing I read earlier, and they even had it in quotation marks, new technology, new science. There's that word. Yeah.
When I'm sure Einstein and Tesla were just really tapping into, like you said, the mystery schools. They were tapping into what was already known back in the ancient times.
For sure.
How were the pyramids built? People,
exactly.
Probably similar technology to what we're talking about. You know what I didn't even know? Maybe I learned in school and didn't remember, but just recently looking into it, dang, and I got my shit on today. The pyramids were cased in limestone. So back and capped in gold.
Wow.
So back in their day, even as marvelous as they are to us today, picture them all sides in white, glimmering on the horizon, and then the stone on the capstone gold. That's what it was before it was defaced and
Where's that capstone?
What we see today. You feel me? That's
Where's
a
that
crazy gold capstone. Maybe it was just
you know how much
gold plated,
that was worth?
But still, that's
you know how much that was worth? It wasn't gold plated, bro.
Right?
It was not gold plated.
Limestone.
That's not how they
all
got down.
white. So really all those three pyramids, the great pyramids that we're used to seeing right now that just look like stone but are still magnificent, those mugs were all white, bro. So you could see them from miles and miles away.
That
I was
been
like,
dope.
damn, yeah, it's a trip.
That would have been sick as fuck.
So the technology they had back then, they were encompassing, that's what the pyramids were all about. So shout out to Einstein and Tesla, but yeah, even today, they're still just trying to reverse engineer, you know, what was already known. And maybe, like you said, maybe it's going too far, man. What are we doing? Yeah,
it doesn't really make any sense. Like why aren't we happy with what's happening? I'm just happy every day. I don't have to do all that shit. You know? I don't know.
And shout out to people that are trying to figure out real life issues, but those just seem like beyond to me, they're missing the point, or else they don't give a fuck about what's going on the ground. Because, okay, yeah, we're happy you're exploring space and shit, but what about people suffering on the ground, though?
Yeah.
At what point do you take a pause on that, fix what's at home, and then say,
That's
okay,
a great point.
Home's cool. Now let's go back to what we're doing. Like,
that's a great point, yeah.
Redirect that energy. It's crazy.
Clean up your own backyard before you clean up the fifth dimension.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying, bro?
Or bringing shit here from the fifth dimension that's fucking us up, man. What's going on?
Bro. No
Once you open them portals, it's a two-way portal, man.
Yeah. What's coming up on the other side, bro?
Yeah, man.
Have you seen that movie, The Mist?
They don't tell us about that.
You seen that movie, The Mist?
Probably.
Where the army's fucking with some shit like that, and all of a sudden this whole town that's right by this army place, this army fucking fort or whatever, where they're running these experiments, they don't know this is happening. The people don't know the army's doing this, but all of a sudden there's like this crazy thick mist, like fog, like gnarly though. It comes over the town, and people are like, "Well, what the fuck?" And you could just hear noise, like coming out of the mist and shit, and like people run all into this fucking like store because they're kind of tripping because there's all this noise and they don't know what it is, and they're kind of like hiding out, and all of a sudden, bro, they start getting attacked by like different things that like they're like, for instance, there was these fucking like wasps that were like as big as your torso, like if you were cut in half.
Fuck.
And they were fucking stinging people and shit, and like giant spiders, and like there was some sort of beast outside that was literally eating people. It was huge, and like they went out there in a rope, and Then the rope got all loose and they pulled the rope back and like there was like half a body to it. You know, they had sent some guy out there in a rope. So yeah, all this came back, bro, out of this fucking portal that these motherfuckers opened, bro. You know, that's what they come to find out. The military opened some portal. This fucking fog came out and with it came all of whatever was from that dimension. Or whatever several dimensions had been tapped into. Right. That shit was fucking crazy. And anyways, I just want to go over one last thing and then we'll get off this. But he said the last step is to utilize the Einstein tunnel theory. That will triple the speed. Proof exists right now that we can travel at 4.5 times the speed of light. This was in 1986, by the way. 4.5 times the speed of light. And that was in 1986.
I got it.
Can I hit him?
Hit him.
Who's your daddy, people? Yeah, that's Buck's line. But man, I've been dying to say that.
Hey,
I've been dying to say that.
I love it, man. We're gonna have to patent that shit. Well, you can't patent that, but you know, trademark.
I know what you're saying. Real quick, let me just go over some of the effects that happened with these sailors, bro, when they came back. Some men would freeze or get stuck or go blank.
Freeze. Now give me all that money, please. All right, go.
That was dope. Most of the men would simply be unable to move and referred to it as Hell Incorporated. The men are usually aware of the passage of time and were in some sort of a coma. If a man remained in a deep freeze for more than a day, he usually went insane. It took 6 months and $5 million worth of electronic equipment to unfreeze the first frozen crewman. Second, 2 men froze and caught fire. They burned for 18 days. Spontaneous human combustion. And they burned for 18 days. This is the propulsion
using that shit?
Yeah, when they got back, this is what happened to the crewmen.
So
2
they're
of them
testing.
burned.
They probably knew they could do it, and they wanted to see the effects on a human.
Yeah.
They did it without a human first.
Yeah,
obviously.
Exactly.
They're like, all right, we're going to do it with these crewmen.
Yeah. So then some men would disappear.
And that's crazy. Some froze and some caught on fire.
For 18 days. They couldn't put the fire out for 18 days, bro.
You had to emphasize that shit. Like, bro, did you hear that part?
Yeah,
though?
the 18 days is crazy.
Didn't sink in. Hold on. Let me let that sink in. Like a log, bro?
Yeah.
Like, how does
like a Duraflame.
How does a human
like a Duraflame.
Yeah, like, we don't even have that much to burn for 18 days.
I don't know.
Golly.
Some men would disappear or appear to be a heat mirage while not under the effects of the field. There was a dude who in front of this Carlos Miguel Allende, he was at a bar. And you like when I say his name? Carlos Miguel Allende.
Because it's Carlos Miguel and then Allende.
Yeah, Allende.
Yeah, that don't even mix for us.
It's crazy.
Allende is like a big,
big homie.
Yeah, big
so,
Carlos Miguel.
Yeah, he saw a dude at a bar and was like, yo, the dude disappeared in front of my eyes. And the guy's like, nah, what happened was, because they interviewed the guy. And he's like, nah, what happened? There was a bar fight. And some barmaid snuck me out the back so the cops wouldn't get me. And this fool Carlos is like, nah, fool, fuck that. We were in a bar and you disappeared. Not like someone snuck you out during a bar fight.
Not like you left me here.
Nah, you disappeared, bro.
Here, gone.
Gone,
yeah.
Exactly. So that's some of this. Some men were just missing after the experiment and never found, bro. Like they went to these dimensions and just stayed there. They might have lived there for another fucking...
Where'd you find this so the people could look some of this shit up, man?
Oh, just Google the fucking Philadelphia experiment. There's Wikipedia, all that.
Okay,
yeah.
okay.
And the last thing, one sailor walked through a bulkhead, like just walked through the motherfucker in plain view of witnesses and was never seen again. Just walked through it.
Now, tell me, what's a bulkhead?
It's part of a ship.
Okay.
So I just walked through the ship, bro, and they never seen his ass again.
Yeah. Hey, that's like that cool ass movie effect. Like when time goes on and somebody dies and then they just disappear.
Yes.
Into the
Yes, dude. That's exactly what happened. That's exactly what happened, bro.
That fool just disappeared. Damn, G.
The Philadelphia experiment. Look it up, guys. I believe
Philly's
it's also
awesome.
called the Project Montauk or something like that. I think that's another name for
Philly's awesome because you went there.
Philly's nice.
Philly has a lot of history. And if you guys missed it, at the beginning of this whole lockdown and shit, I looked into the yellow fever, I think it was, in Philadelphia. And there was a brother who did a dope video. He went there and showed a lot of the history there, but he pretty much broke down how a lot of the shit that's happening now happened then. And this pandemic is not a accident. Like that shit back then, people were skeptical and thought it was, something that was a narrative being put forth. So yeah, man. And Philly has a lot of history with vaccinations starting there, I believe, and something like that. That was the first capital. I believe they even had riots during that time, similar to how we've been having uprisings now. So yeah, man, history is a mother. Or as we're learning in time travel history in the past and the future and propulsion and all this shit, bro. Shit, it's all one. That's why you got to pay attention.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe that's why they say if you don't know where you're going, you can't know where. If you don't know where you've been, you can't know where you're going, type shit. Because it's all like.
Well, it goes with the simulation theory, too. It's like, okay, if you travel faster than the speed of light, maybe you're going faster than the simulation.
Right.
And the space is just us leaving the simulation. We're able to travel outside of it somehow. I don't know what the fuck outside of it is, Or even like when you're digging, like, okay, like you see dirt on the surface and you dig underneath. Is that dirt there the whole time, or does it appear as you're digging?
Right.
As part of the simulation.
Well, see, me and you talked about it too. Deja vu.
Yeah.
So that's a trip. Like, were you there
That
already? Do you have a sense of that because of
that part
past...
of the electromagnetic field? Remember, he just said electromagnetic fields leave imprints of the areas where they took place. So maybe it took place there, and because we're there, we're picking up the electromagnetic field again, and we're experiencing it again. Boom.
It's a trip. It's crazy.
That's what deja vu could be.
Did we move faster than the speed of light for that momentary moment for some reason? Did we propel for some reason?
But if it already happened, right, and they said it disturbs the electromagnetic field in that area and leaves an imprint.
Right.
And then, boom, we come back. And
we're back in that.
And we pick up the imprint. It leaves that imprint.
But what makes us aware of that? Because that would mean that we always would have that sense. Why in that moment do we have that sense? Maybe it's just an awareness that clicks for some reason.
Yeah, I don't know.
Where we have an out of body. Because that was what I was going to bring up too, like out of body experiences.
Yeah,
everybody has explained experiencing an out of body experience once in a lifetime or whatever. Sure. And it's a surreal thing. Sometimes it's induced by weed, but maybe it's just trauma or when you see your life flash in front of your eyes.
Yeah.
That disturbs the timeline. So there's something time is interesting because inside us we can manipulate the timeline based on the chemicals and the reactions. Yeah. I told you on my retreat there was a dude who was like he was a neurologist something like that. You said
him and the dude, neurolinguist.
Yeah, it wasn't the one that studies your brain by putting devices on your brain. Yeah. He was more into the like psychology of the brain. Yeah, and breaking it down that way based on the words you use, based on demeanor, and just different things about your disposition. Mm-hmm. So yeah, that world is interesting because I would believe that he would say that he could predict certain people's patterns and behaviors or break down a person based on just sitting with them for a few things. So he could probably say that based on his algorithms and stuff, he could do something similar to the brother that you said came up with that time machine. So I could see that based on people that are doing that science, because that's the way we're going. And matter of fact, that's a good seg into, I wanted to talk about sports with the analytics.
Oh, man.
It's a great seg, bro.
I'm glad you brought that up.
Because what made me bring it up is it came up because I listened to The Odd Couple. And it's funny because we're an odd couple. But theirs is Chris Broussard and Rob Parker. Yeah. And they were talking about Big Papi. Ortiz from the Red Sox. His quote was, "Baseball has become boring." Yeah, because he feels like it has moved into home run or nothing. Yeah, and he even came from an era where home runs were big.
He was a home run hitter,
and he still feels that the game has deteriorated. So it opened up a conversation with those dudes, and people call into their show, which is cool. We should do that one day. That'd be cool to have guests.
For sure. So we'll get you motherfuckers on here. Don't trip.
So they were talking about it, and I couldn't help but to agree. It was great how they laid it out too, because not a lot of shows talk about baseball anymore, because I guess it's just not profitable for talk radio and for, you know, shows that they talk about more football and basketball. I guess that's where the money's at.
Yeah.
But they don't, you know, but Rob Parker, he does like baseball. So they went in on baseball and pretty much said that with the shifts where they're pretty much going off the analytics and shifting the outfield and the infield to pretty much go where people hit the ball a lot, you know what I mean? And the hitters are now just going for the home runs. And then also with the rotations of the pitchers, they're saying, because it's off of analytics now, they're pretty much taking away the starting pitcher. They were saying that they used to love when pitchers would finish a game or have a complete game, you know? But now, as we've seen, pitchers get pulled real quick, you know what I mean? And that's based on the analytics, the numbers. So they were saying that in these different sports, the analytics or the nerds that are just basing it on numbers, they're taking away some of the superstar power of the games we love, or some of the action in the games we love, because it's just being based now on the efficiency of what, you know, can score points or score runs, you know?
Right.
Examples they gave were like in baseball, the starting pitcher. Also in football, the running back. The running back has been devalued because instead of just having one star running back, now you have 2 or 3 running backs, because the role of the running back and paying a running back has become not so important, you know, because based on the numbers, they just feel like they'll be better suited to spend that money somewhere else than to get a top rated running back and get him high in the draft. Right. And in basketball, it would be the center.
Right.
It's now all small ball, all shooting threes, because that's based on analytics. They understand that if you shoot a 3 at a certain percent, which is like 33%, that's better than shooting 2s at 50%.
Right.
So just based on numbers, they've changed fundamentally all the games that we loved and grew up with. And it was a great conversation, because analytics comes up everywhere in music.
Oh, yeah.
Politics, you know.
YouTube views.
Yeah, bruh. And then, Lord Jamar brought that up. He had a great conversation with his guests. He was transparent in a mug. He brought up his YouTube page, showed them the videos that had positive titles.
Yeah.
And how the same guests could have a video with a title that was, you know, said to be controversial, and how the views were through the roof for the negative stuff. But he does a podcast called The Godcast, where he credits himself to be, you know, not of the bullshit and the gossip, you know, trying to bring something, you know, enlightening to the people. Good guess. He don't go on Vlad no more, because he felt like Vlad was, you know, demeaning to the culture. So he trying to bring something good. But he's like, come on, people, what do you want? Because you guys tell me you want good stuff, but then the views say this, you know. So yeah, this analytic world we live in is a trip, bro. Because again, it goes to that capitalism. It's the bottom line. It's the numbers, the analytics. It don't have no heart, no substance, no like they were saying, like stealing of bases like they used to love, or like me and you grew up on Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan lived in the mid range.
Yeah. Basketball
ain't about the mid range no more. Back to the rim, posting up. Don't nobody post up no more, bro. Post up game is through, folk. Yeah, it's crazy, man. So analytics has really ruined a lot of stuff.
Bro,
and,
you know what analytics fucked us up? The Dodgers in the World Series, not this one, but the one before this. Not the one where
they pulled that picture and they put in, what's his name? I don't want to say the Asian picture because I don't know his name.
Oh, yeah.
King Ho Park or something.
Yeah, Chan Ho Park.
Yeah.
Wasn't that his name?
That was based on some analytics shit.
But trip on this. The decision not to play fucking Bellinger. I think it wasn't. Is Turner left-handed? Nah, it was Bellinger, Muncy, because Muncy's left-handed. It was Max Muncy, Cody Bellinger, and Jock Peterson. Dave Roberts didn't play them until the 6th inning. The first 2 games for sure, possibly 3 games, based on the fact that who did we play that second time? The Red Sox. That the Red Sox were using left-handed pitchers. and they don't hit well against left-handed pitchers. I'm like, bro, you put your best players in.
Exactly.
Bro.
Exactly.
I don't give a fuck what those numbers say, bro.
Right.
Because numbers change, bro.
Especially in big games.
Yeah, bro.
You got to always take that factor. Yeah.
And I always felt like, yo, man, you not doing that just put us in a hole most of the time. Then we got cheated by the Astros. And why didn't they have to forfeit that trophy, bro?
Exactly.
What were you going to say right now?
I was going to say when Seattle threw the ball against the Patriots instead of handing the ball off to beast mode. That was based on some analytics shit. Well, based on this situation,
that was the worst
33.3% of the time, we'll throw this pass on first down.
I was so confused.
Because then we'll have more downs to run the ball. Like, no. Give the
it
ball to beast mode.
First and goal from the 2, bro.
Analytics,
and
bro.
This dude averages 4.5 yards a carry. You got 4 downs to get in that end zone. Because I'm going 4 downs. I'm not going to give a fuck.
Right.
And I'm going to be like, bro, move that pile, bro. However you got to get in there, get in. Just go straight up the gut.
Man, we all know, sports fans know, this shit is based on, for one, in the playoffs, it's based on a little bit who wants it more, but a lot of it, it's luck. Because there's injuries.
Exactly.
There's so many things that come into play. There's suspensions, there's rivalries. There's things that happen in the preseason that may boil
payoffs.
over. Oh, yeah, that's for sure.
The refs are getting paid.
But, yeah, it's just so – and then in basketball, of course, you have 7 games, and in baseball. But then in certain ones like football, it's just one game.
Man.
So it's so many things that can sway the tide. So – and that's why we love sports, even though for myself, I try not to stay so in tune with what everybody else is doing and always watching what everybody else is watching, even though we do this pod and we need to stay abreast of what's going on. But I do my own thing, man. I got my own rhythm. But sports is the one thing where I do stay, in tune with what's going on like everybody else, because it feels like it's unpredictable, you know, and it's the one thing that still is based on your talent and just what you bring to the table, and it's exciting. Yeah. And even though it's weird now with no fans and all that stuff.
Yeah, fuck that. That shit's weird.
I love playing ball, and I'm gonna teach my boys what I know, you know what I mean? Even though the NBA can be a distraction at times and Black Lives Matter has taken over, you know what I mean? But
it's still fun to watch, though.
Yeah, you know
sports
what I mean?
Is sports, bro.
It is
Come on.
You got to have something to enjoy.
Bro. We need bread and circus, bro. If they're going to be pulling this shit on us, we want bread and circus.
And that's what it is, too.
You know?
You ain't lying,
fuck
man.
that. And some weed.
For shiggity.
And some weed.
Give me some on that, brother.
Yeah.
Because I be trying to act like I'm going to quit sometimes, but that weed be calling me, man.
It's calling me.
It gets me through, man.
I love it.
Yeah, that's my thing of choice.
Fuck yeah.
I'm going to be going on a psilocybin journey, though, soon, you guys.
Dude.
So
talk about that.
No, I'll tell them about it when I come back.
But talk about what you're doing. Just set them up for it so they know what to expect.
All right. So you guys know I did the ayahuasca journey.
Yeah.
And that was amazing. So this time I met a cool gentleman, and he's into the psilocybins. And I say psilocybins because I want people to understand that this is a medicinal journey for me. This is a journey of self. Like I tell everybody to go within. I'm trying to really have a experience that uplifts and elevates me. I ain't just going for a trip. I'm actually trying to bring my wife with me so she can get some healing too. So yeah, psilocybins is the medicinal aspect of the shroom. And I told Smooth, I watched a dope. My homie sent me something I was supposed to show my wifey, but it cost money. So I found another one on Amazon Prime or something about mushrooms. And I learned way more than I ever knew. Like mushrooms are really responsible for our ecosystem, and the plants really work in tandem with the mushrooms or the fungi. It helps nurture the soil. The fungi do so much, you know what I mean? The fungi are in the plants that we use every day. That's why if you don't eat them quick enough, the fungi will take over because they're already there. It made me think about how they said you could get maggots if you don't roll over like sick people, quick enough,
Yeah.
those bed sores and those things like in the body, you could form maggots. I think Dr. Sebi pointed that out. And it trips people out because you like, where did the maggot come from? Well, it came from inside of you, because what we don't understand is all living organisms like have bacteria, fungi,
Yeah.
And if you don't take care of yourself and you're not moving and living, then those things that's what's there for. You're gonna naturally decompose. I know I went on a little rant right there.
No, I wanted to ask you a question, bro.
What?
Because I'm high. What's the opposite of a boring guy?
A fun guy.
A fun guy. Yeah. Fool.
Rock star.
A fucking fun guy.
So yeah,
I thought of that. That's why I was laughing when I was high. I was like, I'm a fun guy.
I'm gonna go on a psilocybin trip. They said it's supposed to open up inhibitions. Like, I don't know if it's like alcohol, but like, depression is good for depression. And just when you're holding back or you like have limits on yourself, it's gonna be able to help you open up something naturally, instead of using antidepressants and whatnot. And I'm not depressed. I'm just like steadily looking for ways to elevate and tap into.
Oh, that's a great way right there, dude.
Spiritual shit. I never had a hallucinogenic experience. So
that's going to fucking be nice. You said an 8?
I lie.
That's a lot.
I did. I told you about this. What's that one from South America? It's not sativa. It's salvia.
Salvia.
I did salvia. And I had a hallucinogenic experience. But salvia is really quick, though.
Yeah. No, this is
Shrooms
going to
is
fucking
hours.
be... Yeah. You're going to be...
Salvia is like
on an 1/8 of shrooms?
A minute.
You're going to take an 1/8 of shrooms.
Yeah.
And you've never done it?
Stop telling people all my business. I'm going on a
You
spiritual
just told them
journey
a
to
bunch
do
of shit, bro.
psilocybins.
Okay, you're going to take 3.5 grams of psilocybin medication.
It's legal.
Yeah, it is.
I don't need the people knocking at my door, man. You
Man,
know they
you just
flying
told the
that
whole story.
You know they flying that black helicopter.
You just told the whole story.
I know, but I was very careful about the words that I chose.
Oh, my God. Jeez. What am I going to do with this guy?
Man, we done gave him a lot. We out here.
Damn. Nah.
They like, why Buck always want to go?
Nah.
I don't. I got my kids at home, though, and I be trying to tuck them in and give them a kiss on their foot.
Yeah.
What's up?
What on there?
Yeah, you know.
Have you heard of remember I was telling you that story?
Shout out to my boys.
Yeah.
Daddy love you.
I
gotta play that part for him.
What part?
Where I just said daddy love him.
Oh, yeah.
Shout out.
It. Hey,
Shout out
guys.
to my boys.
They're
I'm gonna give they nicknames. What's up, Hey Rue and JJ?
Yeah. What's up?
Deli.
What's up? Maxwell and Blake. I was like, who?
Especially because I could play this part for them because ain't nothing burning.
Right? There you go. That's a good one.
Except us. We killing it right now. Burning the late night
Dr.
oil.
Milton Wright.
Mm-hmm. Milton Bradley.
Charlie, homie. Nah, this dude was...
Didn't he play for the Dodgers?
Milton Wright? Who, Milton Bradley?
Yeah.
Milton Bradley's some toy shit.
I know. There was a Milton that played for the Dodgers, I think.
Might have been. But no, this guy was a black dude from, I believe he was from Georgia. And he was going...
brother?
He was, hell yeah. He was out in an African American.
Fuck,
I hate that term.
No, why'd you just use that term?
African American.
That's what it says?
No, fuck no. This was old school shit. This was
we
way
just
before.
clowning?
Yeah, I was totally clowning.
All right.
So he was out in Germany getting his PhD.
All right.
And while he was out there, his buddies, this is in 1932, some of his buddies, these German dudes, he spoke fluent German, by the way. They said, hey, let's go look at the new chancellor. His name's Adolf Hitler. Let's go watch him speak. So they go watch him speak. And during the course of the speech, fucking around, he turns to these German guys and he goes, yeah, I'd be down to assassinate that guy. And 2 of Hitler's fucking bodyguards from the SS heard that shit, bro. So they followed this fool back to his hotel room. And he just so happened to be staying at the same hotel as Adolf Hitler. So they snatched this fool up, bro.
That's some strange shit to say.
Yeah.
I'd be down to assassinate that guy.
Yeah. So they snatch this fool up and they take him back to the hotel. And Hitler fucking invites him to dinner, bro. And they sit down and this fool interviews Hitler, bro.
I said you want to assassinate me, huh?
Yeah. And this fool interviews him. And he said, This is what he says about the interview, about his time with Hitler. He goes, "The time with Hitler was spent almost entirely by his asking me questions about the Negroes in the United States. Of course, I had little opportunity to answer any of his questions because he would no sooner ask a question than he would immediately proceed to give his own answer. When I would attempt to correct some of his versions of life in America, he would almost invariably break in with another question or comment. With that exception, he was most courteous to me. He spoke loudly, long, and with an air of authority."
So tell me more about the Negroes, though, in America.
Right?
Jack Johnson, he's very strong, no?
Jack Johnson. It was a bit surprising to me that that he seemed to know so much about Negroes in America. As I now recall, he mentioned the names of Booker T. Washington, Paul Robertson, Jack Johnson, W.C. Hardy, Florence Mills, Josephine Baker, the Scottsboro Boys, and a few others. The only ones he mentioned with any respect were the first two. He expressed the opinion that Negroes could not have much backbone because of the fact that they consistently allowed the whites to lynch them, beat them, segregate them without rising up against their oppressors. They must be definitely third-class people, he said. Minority groups always get the worst of it in conflicts like this. Like conflicts like race riots. Don't you think your people are destined perpetually to be slaves of one kind or another? Hitler's answer was an enthusiastic yes. Your people are a hopeless lot. I don't hate them. I pity the poor devils.
I wanted to slam your computer on your nub, but that would have been mean.
That would have been fucked up.
Because you're not Hitler.
Well, what it sounds like to me
I'm
is...
not mad at what he was saying.
But what he's observing is like, yo, why doesn't anyone fucking stand up for themselves?
And of course, that's the thing that I feel like subconsciously all races feel towards melanated people. And it's why I cringe when we continue to ask for people to feel bad or to understand our plight, is because to me, I'm like, yo, they do understand. And they are waiting for you to stand up and fight back and do something.
Right.
And also, it's a catch-22 because a lot of the movements here in the States have mimicked a lot of the black empowerment movements. So the model for what a peaceful movement looks like has come from the black empowerment movement. So are we more humanitarian or more evolved as a race because we don't fight back, or are we lower class because we don't fight back? That's the conundrum. I'm starting to lean towards, I don't say we're lower class. I think we're of higher purpose and more connected to the earth and more connected to the celestial, the God or whatever you want to say.
Yeah.
Through the pineal gland. But at the same time, I'm tired of being stepped on. So even though turning the other cheek has been something that has been like looked at, like to me in the black community as the right thing to do, and looked at as, there's power in that, being peaceful in the face of adversity. Yeah. At some point, it's like, yeah, bro, you got to do what you got to do. Yeah. So I've never been an advocate of being violent, but protection for sure. Protect yourself, arm yourself, and to me, just stop supporting shit that isn't for you.
Right.
That's the main thing that I preach, is like, if you understand that these people see you as less than, then why do you continue to want to look for support from these people
and acceptance?
That's dumb as fuck. So
for sure.
I'm like not on the fence. I'm like, I see both sides basically.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, it is like dumb not to fight back, but at the same time, I think it's because we come from a different lineage. Like, it's like killing is the last thing you want to do, or harming somebody is the last thing you want to do.
Well, he's also talking to fucking Hitler.
Yeah.
I don't know that Hitler wasn't a fucking,
But still, that sentiment, I think, is
that
still valid, even though it's Hitler.
No. I'm saying the sentiment's valid, but I'm saying as far as wanting to, like, fight back and kill people, he seemed like he was down to fight and kill motherfuckers. That's what I'm saying. It's perception, too, of who you're talking to.
Now, is this the interview from the guy that you said was down to assassinate Hitler?
Yeah, he was joking around.
But then they went to lunch.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And this is what came from that?
Yeah, because he's a PhD.
So
He's
this
like,
is the
fuck
guy
it.
now giving his account of that lunch?
Yeah.
That's pretty
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah.
Man.
So then he goes on to say, I'll finish this real quick. It says, looking at me closely, he asked and said, among other things, aren't you proud to have this wonderful opportunity to study at a real university? You're getting here at Heidelberg, what you could not possibly get in America. Why do you seek a white man's education when you know or should know that you can never use it, at least as a white man can? So he's saying basically the opportunities at that time are not available to you.
Right. Right.
Even in America.
Right.
You're going to take this dope education back to America, and you're not even going to be able to fucking be like a doctor, like a fucking...
Did I just agree with Hitler without agreeing with Hitler?
You did.
Damn, homie.
Well, what's interesting, bro, is they always try to act like the fucking, like the Germans were so racist, and I'm not saying they weren't, but they try to deflect the fact that America had the most racist policies at the time, bro.
And again, you got to define words. That's where the word magic is a trip, because racist, me and you talked about it before in this pod, and I went into it. That's the problem to me with what he just said with so-called African-American, black people, whatever you want to call them, whatever everybody else understands us to be, because that's not what I answer to, but, you know, for the sake of discussion. That's the problem right there is, damn, I lost it with all that bullshit I just said. What were we talking about again?
Let's see, the last thing I said, that he wasn't able to, racism. You were talking about racism.
Because racism is just about being for your race, and nothing's wrong with that. The only problem is when you want to kill somebody else that's not of your race, or make it hard for someone else to survive or to thrive because of said race. Like when Black Wall Street was attacked because of racist tactics, or because they didn't want to see black people thrive. Now that's racist, that needs to be addressed. But if you're just for your race, and you're racist, meaning that, let's say when we talk about money circulating in a community, if you want to see the money circulate in your community, that could be looked at as racist. That's why we got to be careful how we use these words. Now, if my practices are, what's the word I'm looking for? Not segregation, but if I discriminate against you because of my feelings about race.
That's the one I want.
Now, there's a problem.
That's the one I'm talking about.
But if I'm just racist, meaning that I love my people and I'm for my race, but that doesn't mean that I don't love you too, and I don't love other races as well, but I put my people first, there's nothing wrong with that. And I think that's what he's pretty much saying. Is
for
like,
sure.
Because
that is what Hitler's saying.
Because just like you broke down that California and I'm sure Texas and New York have pretty big economies to where they can rival countries around the world. Like when you break it down, you said we're the 5th largest economy in the world or something.
In the world.
Well, black people, based on economics, are a pretty big damn economy here in America. Black or African American, I like to call myself native, indigenous, you know. We have a pretty big economy our damn self. So when you think of that and we don't put it to use for our purposes, then there's a failure there. And that's what I speak to, is the money doesn't circulate within my community. So we're not racist enough as a community. Black people, we're too giving. We want to spend our money everywhere else to show that we're American or we can assimilate. And nobody else really does that, you know? So they got us really mind fucked. So,
well, you know, and Ted Kaczynski's...
Racism is a slippery slope. There's nothing wrong with racism, but black people are taught to think racism is a problem. That's why whenever we cry about it, like you just said, other people look at that as weak, and we keep thinking that we need some sympathy. And now the Democrats have given black people that sympathy. So that's even scarier to me too, is because we're already tied into the state of free money. What's that shit called?
Welfare.
Welfare. So now the Democrats are even like, we'll give you more welfare. You know, we'll give you more stimulus. Fuck it, we'll take care of you. So, yeah, man, that shit's a joke, bro. Because they're never going to fulfill the freedom that we're looking for by just giving you something. That shit always comes with conditions.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. And it's always with these new deals.
Right?
Right? Mm-hmm. Now you got the Green New Deal. Mm-hmm. Franklin Roosevelt had the, I think his was just called the New Deal.
Yeah.
And then Kennedy had the New Frontier. I think his was called the New Frontier. And now this one's called the Green New Deal.
Because Reconstruction was never fulfilled. What they promised during Reconstruction. So it's all a farce, man.
Yeah.
Looking for government to save the day. People have warned us about that ideology for a long time. Shit, you already just broke down how the California has been under lock and key for a long time. And I'm sure we can find many other cases similar to that.
Oh, yeah.
We just broke down California for you people because that's where we're at.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hey, and report back to us if you got anything for us to look into from the states or the countries where you're at, especially other countries. I would love to hear from some other people outside of the states.
Yeah. Let me finish this letter real quick and then we'll move on.
For sure.
He paid me a compliment by saying that I spoke better German than any white American or Englishman he had ever heard. He hastened to say, however, that he had heard that Negroes were natural-born imitators. Perhaps that accounted for my good pronunciation and enunciation of the master language. He put in quotation marks, joking around. Egotism in evidence throughout the evening. He appeared calm and intensely interested. Are you doing a dab? Mm-hmm. Ooh, God, I want one, please.
Are you sure?
And interested in what I said and how I said it. Although he spoke loudly, deliberately, and with finality, he never lost his poise and composure. Egotism and a sense of superiority were in constant evidence. Before I left, he invited me to stop in to see him when next I visited Munich, where he had his headquarters. He instructed one of his guards to give me a picture of himself.
Imitators?
The evening went.
Or originators?
You know what he said when Jesse Owens won? He was like, he cheated because he's black. That fool knew. He was like, there's no way.
Because then they'll say we were bred to be athletes.
He already knew.
It's like the only thing that isn't coerced and controlled is athletics, because it's on display for all to see.
Right.
And when we dominate there, they say it's
have to say
because we were bred to be that way during slavery.
You know what's funny?
They can't give a shit, bro.
Have you heard Bill Burr?
Not to mention, though, that most of this shit, even like the mRNA technology, which I'm not even for all that vax stuff, but like I said, I'm ready to be open-minded and even keeled. That was even developed by a black scientist. And it's funny that the reason why we still have to point out black people that do stuff, Black History Month, is because we don't get the credit. Like, we still get looked at as fucking drug dealers or less than, even though a lot of the innovations and inventions, of technology, even like the internet, like there was a brother said to help invent the internet, but we don't get credit for a lot of the shit. So, and I don't want credit at the end of the day because I don't need it personally. But it's just unfortunate that a lot of people, they don't know the history, so they don't see themselves in a light. That's why we don't support each other, is because we don't see the value in ourselves. So even though I do know self and have self-value, so I don't necessarily need that credit, I understand why it's important, because some people still really do need that. And they'll never really be changed until they see value in themselves, you know?
Yeah,
so that spark has to happen for them, just like it's been happening for me, because I didn't always have knowledge of self and know all these things, and take it serious and live it and actually put it into motion.
Yeah, when I first met you, you were a mess. I was like, God, who the fuck did they hire? Jeez. Me and this guy used to work together years ago. 15 years ago, I met him. They hired him. His friend started working there first, this girl named Alex. Shout out to Alex.
This
And
fool
then,
was always a bad influence.
And this guy showed up, and I was like, great, there's a fucking black guy at work now.
I tried to stop smoking
I
weed.
started locking my shit up right away.
This fool took a big ass bong rip of something that looked like Manute Bowl, like he's about to do in this dab rig, and blew that shit right in my face. And pretty much said, fuck your sabbatical. And me and him been cool ever since. I could tell the story now because we don't work there no more and your mom doesn't care. This fool used to get me drunk on the job, man. I'd be working and shit, trying to hold it down after hours by myself in the office.
That wasn't me.
And I'm responsible for like setting up all the drivers for the next day. And this fool come and bring a 6-pack.
Hey, do you remember that dude that we worked
Talking about let's go to the bar. I'm like, bro, you know I gotta close this shit up.
You remember that dude we worked with that fucking was smashing that midget?
Yeah, man, that shit was dope. He probably would have kept on smashing if you didn't hate on him. Shame him on his podcast 10 years later. The best part is I never smashed because of your face right now. All I did was...
She was so tiny.
Since we're here now, and I gotta put the kids to sleep now. A midget is perfect height, you guys.
Oh my god!
For a man like me,
this fool is 6'3".
Because the midget is like right here.
He showed up at the office with a girl that was 4 foot, like fucking
head to head action, baby.
What, 7? 4'6"?
Yeah,
man, she was little.
I love my time on the west side.
She looked like a Care Bear, bro.
I ain't gonna lie, man. The thing about me is,
shit.
I'm like a Shallow Hal. I see the inner beauty,
that was amazing, bro.
I see the inner beauty.
Oh man,
yeah,
man.
I see the inner
I was so
beauty in
happy they
people.
hired you.
Fun times,
you gotta put
man.
that. You can put that shit on your resume, bro.
I got you the other chick too that was on your song. She did a couple features for you, man.
Oh yeah,
man. I be coming
She knocked
through,
it out
man.
of the park
I
though.
come
She was
through in
dope.
the clutch, man.
She sang dope. She was a good singer.
That's how I am, man. I'm not about using people, you know, even though we used her for the song, but she was a singer. She loved it. She enjoyed that shit.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is I'm not about just trying to smash and dash or, you know, like I'm a weirdo. I'm an old school romantic and I just used to like enjoy people. It wasn't even always about smashing. Like I said, the midget, I didn't smash her. She was just... she had a cool vibe about her and we went to school together. So you made me
went to school with that little girl?
You made me feel bad about it. She wasn't a little girl. Hey, man. Hey, come on now. Don't be giving people the wrong impression.
No, but
bro.
that little person.
She was a grown woman.
She was a grown woman, but she was little.
We were in college.
Little in stature.
Yes. Not young.
Not young in age.
We were in college.
That's what I meant. My bad.
Santa
I'm
Monica
stoned.
College, bro.
She was little though. She was a
young
girl.
lady.
She was female. She was of age.
Yes, but I don't want you putting it out here like I take advantage of people.
Nah,
that's why I wanted
didn't think
to
you
make
took
it be
advantage
known
of her.
That
I never said that. I just said you fuck. You know,
a
midget.
I didn't though.
Okay, well but man,
we kicked it.
Yeah,
I might have if you didn't make me feel so bad. No lie. No lie, bro. I still tell people that story too.
Oh my god.
Because you know how us guys are, bro. And this is guy talk now. If the girls are still tuned in, I'm sorry. Now you're getting the locker room talk, grabbing pussies and shit.
Damn Trump.
No, but so you know how guys often tell their stories and they're like, yeah, I had this that time. And, you know, one time I did this. I can always usually get a wow because I'm like, yeah, I had a midget one time, you know. And I might have really had a midget, but my homie was hating on me. So, yeah,
Man.
You're the hater homie.
Sorry, dude. My bad. Did you watch that fucking Hotel Cecil documentary I was telling you about?
Wifey, it's funny. Last night, or, you know, was it last night? Yeah, last night I was going to watch it just before we came over here.
Yeah.
Because I knew you were going to talk about it.
Yeah.
And then I was going to put it on, and then she was like, oh, that's the one we were watching the other night. So the one I totally dismissed and was like, I don't know why my wife is watching this old murder mystery shit.
Yeah.
Is the one you were talking about.
Oh, shit.
So, yeah, I watched it begrudgingly.
Yeah. So you already know. Dope.
Was it the chick that got thrown into the... Yeah, I seen that
Fuck
shit.
yeah, it was her.
Bro. Yeah.
So trip on this. So Elisa Lam, you guys, I'm sure you already know. That happened here where we live in Los Angeles. That happened downtown. I've been by the Hotel Cecil many times, and it does have a really dark past. I'm sure because you've seen the. Excuse me. You watched the documentary.
224, man. You better get this
Yeah,
lamp
I
shit
will.
out your system real quick. I mean,
So we
damn, time flies.
I'm
when
sure
you're
you
doing
guys
Kush and
already seen
Chemtrails.
that the Night Stalker Richard Ramirez was up there and all the crazy shit he did. So, anyways, she arrives in L.A. on January 28th. She disappears on January 31st. Her body's discovered on February 19th, and then there's a tuberculosis outbreak at Skid Row, and the CDC arrives in L.A. on February 21st. This is all in 2013. Okay. Now, I think she was already infected before she got to LA, and they talked about that briefly. But you know what they do is they put the most plausible explanation in between a bunch of bullshit.
Okay.
They brought up like a death metal song. They brought up, I forget what else, some other bullshit, like some other bullshit. But the TB shit is the angle, because I'm like, nah. This is the one, and I'll show you why. So I think she already had it because after contracting tuberculosis, it typically takes about 2 to 3 months for symptoms to appear. Sometimes it even takes years, right? Then for the person who has tuberculosis to spread it, it lasts in the air, bro, for up to 6 hours. Okay? So the symptoms of TB are extreme tiredness, fatigue, and symptoms of TB, if it's not in the lungs, because you can have tuberculosis in other parts of your body, bro. And these were all symptoms she had, were fits or seizures. Did you see her on the fucking elevator?
Yeah.
Remember she was doing all this shit? And it looked like...
I didn't know what was going on,
Right,
bro.
well,
because they also said that footage was removed.
Right, well...
So that's, I think, what threw all the people into a tizzy, because they were trying to make their own theories because of the footage that was removed.
Well,
from
there
the
was
elevator footage.
Yeah, well, yeah, there was 53 seconds removed, which I thought was interesting for sure,
Yeah.
and that the timestamp was muddied.
Yeah.
But based on her movements and shit like this, that looked to me like she was having a seizure. I'm epileptic. So when I saw that the very first time, years ago, I was like, damn, that bitch looks like she's having a seizure.
See, it takes a trained eye to know, because before I knew mental health and dealt with it, I was befuddled. Like, I was dumbfounded. I didn't know what to do. But now that I've dealt with it, I'm better equipped to see it when it happens. So you know what it looks like.
Yeah.
Because when I looked at her,
Yeah.
I didn't know if it was drugs. I didn't know if she was scared.
It looked like she was having a
I
seizure.
didn't know if she had a panic attack.
'Cause
I
you
didn't
can
know
also-
what that was, bro.
You can also have absent seizures where you're like staring off like this, and then you'll be like, hey, Emmet, and I'll just be like, having a seizure but not moving or doing anything, but not even there. You
not
feel
even
me?
a physical
Right.
seizure.
So those are all symptoms of tuberculosis outside of the lungs, right? Confusion, shit. That's another thing she was experiencing. You know, like showing. You know, they were saying she was acting real weird and shit like that, right? So I think because she was on medication, you heard that, right? That she was taking medication for depression and shit like that.
Yep.
Okay. Well, I think her fucking depression was misdiagnosed. And I think she had tuberculosis. All right. And listen, there are multiple challenges in addressing the TB depression syndemic. Okay. Syndemic is when two things are, there's synergy between the two. Okay. First is that depression often goes unrecognized or undiagnosed, as systemic inflammation induces symptoms of sickness behavior. Some TB symptoms may resemble depression. Example, low appetite, fatigue, insomnia, irritability, and loss of interest in one's physical and social environment, which can lead to a misdiagnosis of comorbid depression. Right? Yeah. So she's taking medicine for depression, but she really has meningitis. Okay? So there's ample evidence suggests that people with chronic medical illnesses have a 2 to 3 times higher risk for depression than healthy individuals, which is associated with higher health risk behaviors, medical symptom burden, functional impairment, and non-adherence to medication regimens. They said she wasn't taking her medication properly. They just said that part of that is what happens when you're going through this bullshit. right? Okay. Now trip on this. There's fucking spinal meningitis. This is my personal theory. I think it was not spinal meningitis, but tuberculosis meningitis. Or hold on. Let me make sure I'm saying that right. I just clicked off my notes real quick. Yeah, tuberculosis meningitis. Look this up, guys. Tuberculosis meningitis. So real quick, let me read this to you, and it sounds just like her. A 19-year-old female presented to our hospital in January 2015 with chief complaint of altered behavior. It was associated with 1 week history of poor oral intake, low-grade fever, and dysphagia. Further history from family members revealed that the patient had been having altered behavior for the last year. The symptoms had worsened 2 months prior to admission. Initially, she complained of constant lethargy, which is being tired, which led her to quitting her job as a factory worker. She started to shun from outsiders and locked herself most of the time in her room. At that time, she was still able to care for herself. 2 months prior to admission, her behavior worsened. She became quiet, lying most of the time on the bed. She required assistance from her family members for daily self-care. Eventually, she refused oral intake and was brought to the hospital by family members for medical attention. She has no known previous medical illness. Her family members denied patients' involvement with high-risk behaviors. She has no previous contact with tuberculosis patients. Right? So you see, all that behavior, dude, is just like what she was experiencing, bro, based on what she was writing in her blog, her Tumblr blog, about being depressed and all that, right? Now, real quick, let me get to this part of this, what happened thereafter. And I was like, dude, that's exactly what the fuck was going on with this crazy broad. Let me see. Let me find it. Okay, so her admission was complicated with hospital-acquired infection, which resolved 1 week course of IV and 2 medications that were in the IV. I don't want to pronounce them. I don't know what the fuck it is. The patient showed gradual improvement in ward with increasing alertness and able to interact with family members and medical staff. She developed delirium later on, manifested by talking to herself, smiling, and laughing inappropriately. Thus, she was started on oral olanzapine by the attending psychiatry team. Subsequently, she was discharged after 1 month stay in the ward. That same type of shit that fucking chick was showing those symptoms, right? All acting weird and shit like that. So that's the tuberculosis meningitis. So then you go to the water tanker, right? So the police searched the water tanker. Do you remember that?
Yep.
They searched the water tanker with cadaver dogs, bro. They go to the roof. It's fully lit up by a helicopter. Okay? There's a fucking structure that has stairs going up it to the roof, on the roof, that overlook the water tanks. So you can see from the top. Why wouldn't they have walked up there just to have the dogs smell? They would have. And they would have looked over and seen that fucking lid was open. Because that's what they're claiming, that it was already open. And that basically the coroner determined this. She had a bipolar episode. She climbed up a ladder to the top of the roof. Once she was on the roof, she took a ladder, a stationary ladder, put it up against a water tanker, climbed up, removed the 20-pound lid, and jumped in, was swimming. Then because people were using the water level lowered, right? And she couldn't reach to get out anymore. She started suffering from fucking hypothermia, then experienced paradoxical undressing, which is when you start freezing, your body starts burning when you're freezing to death. So you start removing your clothes, and they said that's what happened to her. That's the official reason, right? And that's possible. But what's interesting is, why didn't they see that latch was already open? Because the official report said that it was closed. On the news, the police were like, yeah, the latch was closed. We don't know how she got in there. But then they said they made a mistake. Fair enough. You made a mistake. But then why didn't you see it open when you went up there with these fucking cadaver dogs, bro? Right. And the whole thing was lit up. And it's a huge water tanker and the thing is 4 feet by 4 feet. So it's a huge square, dude. It's big as fuck. And if that's open at night, you're going to clearly see that, hey, that's open. You guys should go see that. Doesn't make any sense, right? So trip on this. Another thing, the coroner said he ruled it as a drowning, but then he said that based on the criteria of a drowning victim, it was like no drowning victim he had seen, because there's yellow foam that comes from the mouth, from the lungs, I think, when someone drowns. Remember I told you I saw that kid drown?
Yeah.
And they pulled him out and all that yellow shit came out of his mouth? I thought that was bile, but apparently when someone drowns, that's what it is. And another thing, they're typically face down when they drown, but she was face up. And he said, well, because people were using the water and it was going up and down, that she probably turned over or something. So he had a reason for everything, but I was like, bro, and the autopsy took 4 months. Right? The longest they typically take, dude, is 1 day to 6 weeks.
All right.
It took 4 months.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Okay. So all that said, the best way to incubate pathogens is providing the perfect environment, such as water tanks that are not irradiated by the sunlight. Irradiated by the sunlight. Elisa Lam was missing for nearly 3 weeks, which is the perfect time to incubate Mycobacterium tuberculosis and transmit the disease through the water tank. An infection can cause swollen stomachs and internal bleeding, sometimes misdiagnosed as a sexual assault. Elisa Lam's strange behavior was recorded by the hotel elevator camera. Patients with infectious disease suffer from hallucination and delusion because pathogens, by yielding acids, destroy electrons, which are essential for neurotransmitters. Those patients suffer from autoimmune diseases, including mental illness, later in their lives.
There goes those electrons again.
Right?
Man, the smoke
So,
wrecking my voice, boy.
trip on this. She attended the University of British Columbia, right? And it says it on this Netflix thing. But I already knew this. She attended the University of British Columbia. The University of British Columbia has a center for tuberculosis research. And she was in part of the Center for Tuberculosis Research, right? That's what she did there.
So did people come down with tuberculosis after her death?
Yes.
Because she was in the
Yes.
fucking water.
Yes. That's what I'm telling you. She came here January 28th. Okay? She disappeared January 31st. They found her February 19th. The CDC came here February 21st because they said there had been an outbreak of tuberculosis.
I follow.
Okay? And do you know the name of the test that they use to test for tuberculosis? Lam Elisa. Her name backwards.
Get out of here.
I wish I could.
Propulsion? Disappear right now?
Right?
That'd blow my mind.
Right?
Steve should do that.
Might as well.
With effect right now. When
Might
I
as
say get
well.
out of here, you'll just...
Right.
Hey, Steve, can
Okay.
you do that? Make them disappear.
So,
Tech support.
trip on this.
Lam
So then I
Elisa,
go,
huh?
okay. So funding, I go, who's
Who's your daddy?
right? I said, wait a minute. Let me look into something real quick.
That was a segue. I mean, not a segue, but I'm high.
All good. So then I looked into this. The funded projects at the University of British Columbia include millions of dollars from the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation towards research on preeclampsia, a high blood pressure order that is the second leading cause of maternal death worldwide. More multi-millions of dollars towards nutrition-related study, and millions of dollars towards the treatment and prevention of tuberculosis.
There goes your daddy.
So I'm like, wait a minute, Bill Gates? What the fuck? So then I'm like, well, is there anything that's in there? So the Bill and Melinda Gates Medical Research Institute is in British Columbia.
Dun, dun, dun.
Right. So then I look them up. I look up the Bill and Melinda Gates Medical Research Institute. And one of their 4 priorities are malaria, diarrheal disease. That's interesting. Maternal and child health, and tuberculosis. And it says tuberculosis is currently the leading cause of death from infectious disease. The treatment regimen we use today is long and complicated, and hundreds of thousands of cases are resistant to the standard drugs. To control the disease, we need a shorter, simpler course of treatment that works for both drug-sensitive and drug-resistant tuberculosis. Eventually, we need an effective vaccine. Of course. Of course they need a vaccine.
Foreshadowing is the word I was looking for, people. And there he is.
Right?
In the shadows.
Right?
Foretold.
So then, I'm like, all right, well, so what the fuck is this multi-drug resistant shit, right? So I look into this.
Multiverse?
Exactly. Multi-drug resistant tuberculosis.
Shout out to
so
Pickle
there's
Rick.
Pickle
For
Rick.
the people that know.
There he is. So there's a medication called bedaquiline. You guys look this up. B as in boy, E, D as in dog, A, Q, U, I, L, I, N as in Nancy, E. Bedaquiline.
Like bedazzled?
Ooh, hell yeah.
One.
It's bedaquiline. So it's to fight multi-drug resistant tuberculosis. And in their viewpoint, the people that invented it, Laia Ruiz Mingote and her colleagues, highlight the urgent need for additional safety data on bedaquiline, the first new tuberculosis drug to receive U.S. FDA approval in more than 40 years. Because the drug received accelerated approval based solely on phase 2 studies, critical safety data for bedaquiline are incomplete. In view of the scarcity of data, increased mortality in the bedaquiline group on one phase 2 trial, and public health importance of the drug, the FDA's accelerated approval required that a patient registry be set up to assess serious adverse events, including death. In view of the small number of American patients receiving bedaquiline and to avoid selection bias, the inclusion of all recipients of bedaquiline in this registry is essential. But that shit was approved in December 2012, and they didn't start that until March 2014. So for 15 months, they're not keeping track of anybody. Now, what did I just say? It was approved in December 2012. She arrived in fucking LA in January of 2013. The tuberculosis outbreak is in February after she's been dead for 3 weeks, which we just said in that last article is the perfect amount of time for tuberculosis to be broken down in water and spread, right? So if you need to test your fucking product to see if it works, bedaquiline, because it's been rushed to get approved by the FDA, who better than to test it than on a bunch of homeless people that no one gives a fuck about?
At the Cecil Hotel.
Then you go out there and Elisa Lam infected him, and you give him the Lam Elisa
Allegedly.
test. You give him the Lam Elisa test. Well, her real name is Lam Hoi Chi.
I just want to throw that in.
No, but I'm just saying, her name's not even that. And if Hoi Chi translates to Elisa, then her name is Lam Elisa. Just like the fucking test. Right? So then I look at this. So who the fuck makes bedaquiline? And it's fucking Johnson & Johnson. All right, fine. So I look them up, and I'm like, okay, is there a connection with them and fucking Bill Gates? Sure enough. Johnson & Johnson in talks with Japan, Bill Gates Foundation, to lock in deals on COVID-19 vaccine. And I look up, they got a bunch of deals. Look it up, guys. Johnson & Johnson and the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. They got all kinds of deals. So I'm like, what the fuck? What? Okay. So then, let's see, read this board. Read Bill Reuter's, let's see. So then I go, okay, but what about bedaquiline in particular? Yes, bro. Gates backed tuberculosis drug to enter late stage testing. The first experimental drug that fights both conventional and drug-resistant forms of tuberculosis is advancing to late-stage clinical testing on Wednesday, researchers said. And this was back in fucking 2014 in April.
Who's your daddy, people?
Right? So they needed to test that
wicked,
shit,
bro.
They needed to test it to
I
make sure
see
it worked.
Exactly what you just laid out, bro. I smell what you're cooking. If you smell, la, 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 la.
That's exactly what they fucking did.
What Emmet is cooking. Hey, that's your segment right there, bro.
Right.
You're cooking, bro.
So check this out.
Cook it.
The Last Bookstore. In that fucking...
What, the spiral bookcase?
Close enough.
Oh, okay.
In that fucking documentary, the last thing she gets is a package. And it comes from a place in LA called The Last Bookstore, right? And what's crazy is, bro, when you go on their fucking website and you put the postal code from the registration information from the website, V as in Victor 5G 4S2, when you put that into Google, it pulls up Burnaby, Canada, in British Columbia, which is the city where the cemetery is where she's buried, bro.
Congratulations, brother.
That was from the documentary.
You just broke the case.
But I'm just saying,
all the dots together, though.
Yeah.
The documentary didn't bring up Bill and Melinda Gates.
Yeah. Yeah. So if it's like, and everyone, dude, check this out. In the study into bedaquiline's development, all the studies, NIAID, look this up, you guys. I implore you. NIAID, they sponsored one study. Bill and Melinda Gates gives them millions of dollars. USAID, Bill and Melinda Gates gives them millions of dollars. Unitaid, Bill and Melinda Gates gives them millions of dollars. The University of Cape Town, MSF, TB Alliance, it goes on, bro.
Because they want to vaccinate the world.
Bill and Melinda Gates give them millions and millions of fucking dollars, bro. Period. All of these people. And another thing that was weird was there was never any result for the rape kit or the fingernail kit, even though, or if they were processed, and her rectum was prolapsed. Like it was sticking out. Like she had been fucked in her ass and it was like sticking out. But there was never any, and then there was, what do you say?
Vulgar.
Like blood in her fucking like, in the rectum area, like underneath. I forget what it's called when the blood pools under there. And the last thing I want to say, just to kind of talk about what they said, because they were saying hypothermia.
All our sponsors just left the building, bro.
It's all good. What they were saying about hypothermia is that hypothermia occurs in 60 to 70 degrees, the temperature of the water. The temperature in LA that night, January 31st, when she went missing, was 52 degrees. At midnight, and by 6 a.m. was 59 degrees. So the water could have definitely been cold enough if she was in the water. But here's what's crazy. Certain medications can cause hypothermia, either by impairing thermoregulatory mechanisms, decreasing awareness of cold, or clouding judgment. The most common medications that impair thermoregulation are anxiolytics, antidepressants, antipsychotics, and opioids. She was on antidepressants and antipsychotics. So it's possible she might have already had hypothermia, and that's what were causing all the fucking symptoms, because mild hypothermia, you get ataxia, which is impaired balance or coordination. Remember, she was walking all weird? Okay. Dysarthria, which is slurred speech or impaired judgment, and moderate hypothermia leads to CNS depression, which leads to poor judgment and confusion. So it could have been she already had it due to medication, and then continued, because it ends up, I guess people burrow, bro. When they're freezing to death, they burrow like an animal, and they take all their clothes off. So maybe, perhaps, she did take all her clothes off and burrow into that fucking thing. Like, I don't know, doing some weird shit. I don't think that's what happened.
I think you should be a fucking lawyer, bro. Or you should assist on a case, because you lay some shit out so thoroughly. I'm like, bro, you made your point like 10 minutes ago. I was already convinced.
Yeah, buddy. Yeah.
That's good shit, bro.
Yeah. But there it is, man. That's my opinion. My opinion is that bedaquiline was this miracle drug. It had just been approved, and it was the first one in 40 years to be approved to fight tuberculosis, and it was rapid approval, which meant they had to keep this registry. But the first 2 years or 15 months, they don't keep it because they're like, fuck it, we'll just do it on this homeless people, and we won't keep a registry. Once we work out all the kinks, we will start keeping a registry, which they did about 15 months later. And they had already ran all these tests because, dude, you know, there was 4,700 cases of tuberculosis.
On the Oregon Trail. With every time I played Oregon Trail, that's how they died. They get tuberculosis.
Oh,
crossing the river and shit.
That computer game. I remember that. I loved Oregon Trail. What about Carmen Sandiego?
Hell yeah,
remember
bro.
Carmen
that
Sandiego?
That was the one you played along with Oregon Trail.
That shit was dope.
Because you couldn't beat Oregon Trail,
yeah.
So then I'm like, man, let me play Carmen Sandiego.
But there it is, guys. So bedaquiline, look that up. And I think they were...
That's where it was, too. Bedaquiline, Pennsylvania.
Hell yeah. And they were testing that shit. And they were testing it on these people. And the fact that the test, it was called Lamb-Elisa. You know?
Yeah.
That's ridiculous. There's no way. And it had to be. She went to a school. They studied tuberculosis. right? Bill and Melinda Gates make a ton of donations to the school. Their research institute is right there. They say on their website of the Research Institute, one of the 4 things they specify in is tuberculosis. They put the money forward for Johnson & Johnson to develop bedaquiline, and they need it rushed ASAP. Because what happens with these
Johnson & Johnson is in on the new vaccine, too.
Oh, yeah. What happens with these companies, bro, that's really crazy, is they get vouchers and shit, bro. Like from the
Fauci? Yeah, fuck Fauci too.
Fuck that dude.
All right,
they get vouchers from the FDA and shit, from the government once they get these things approved. And like, let's say I'm like, okay, here's your voucher. You can use that to get something else rapidly approved, or you can fucking sell it, and that voucher can sell for fucking up to like $500 million, right? But
$1 billion.
Yeah. What I saw them do, I followed their trail. What they did with theirs,
Oregon Trail?
Orale, dog. Carmen San Diego, is they took that fucking paper and they fucking had it swiped through, and they made $3.6 billion because they used that paper, that voucher, to get the next medication. They got a rapid approval, and they made $3.6 billion off that. So that's what they're fucking doing to make this fucking money off people, bro.
Yeah. It's a racket.
Fuck yeah, it's a racket. And that's why when people are like, why would they do that? It's like, are you kidding me, bro? Because money's power.
To leave your butthole open.
Damn. In China.
That's what you talked about, right?
In China, that's where they're doing the fucking...
prophylactics and shit?
The fucking... where are we at right there?
Time to call it a wrap.
Yeah.
You ain't got no more shit, do you? Save that shit
Where
for the
we
extra
at?
content, man.
Where are we at?
250.
250?
We're trying to break records and shit.
No, I'm not
sorry,
trying
Steve.
to break any records, man.
I really am sorry, Steve.
Nah, I'm not trying to
If
break
it was
no
up to
records,
me,
guys.
I'm gonna talk to him after we get off this show.
Nah, hell nah. I'm out. I'm taking bong rips.
It was buried in notes.
I'm
and
taking
shit.
bong rips.
We
Nah.
out this bitch.
Yeah, let's go, man.
Kush And Chemtrails.
Hey, thanks for tuning in, guys. We appreciate it. We're gone. Like, subscribe. We're out. Let it roll, Steve. Let it roll. Let it roll. Yeah.
Kush and Chemtrails, the world's most dangerous podcast.